Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Dale's Weston Lanes for the Girls 2023 Wisconsin High School Bowling Team Championships. From ESPN Wisconsin, my name is Jesse Nelson, joined by Emil Williams Jr. Today's match is being broadcast on BowlStreamTV.com live. You can also go watch after the competition concludes on demand on BowlStreamTV.com. Let's introduce the field for our championship matches for Division I and Division II for the girls competition. We'll begin with Division II. The number 3 seed, Campbellsport Cougars. And the number 1 seed, Elkhart Lake Glenbeulah Resorters. Good luck and good bowling to the Division II girls team finalists.
Doing both simultaneously, apparently. Yeah, I was a little confused. Okay. Is that different?
To the, are we ready? This is practice time.
Yep. All right. When do you want to go on?
We can, what we got, 10 minutes?
Yeah. Maybe about 7 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is D1?
D2, Division 2.
Nice to see you. Good, good. How about yourself?
Busy like always.
That's a good thing.
So what's new with you?
Just work.
I know I'm catching you at a time.
I'm here. Are you going to be here all day?
No, I'm gonna
no.
get back on the road here. I got about 3 hour drive home.
You been here all weekend, right?
I was here Friday and Saturday, yeah. But I didn't see you.
I got here last night.
Oh, okay.
I was here, set up, and then you try to go to sleep
And then you go home tomorrow?
tonight.
Tonight? Oh, okay.
I got to take my son to school.
Ah, okay.
I try not to miss that.
Yeah. All right, well, it's good seeing you.
You too.
Okay,
Always a
I'll see you at
pleasure.
Junior Gold. I just don't
You know
know
I'll
if
be
they're
there.
playing me yet.
Okay.
I just hope I don't get injured like I did last time that we were there. I stepped wrong or something on Sunday or either Sunday or Monday, and by Wednesday I couldn't walk. I couldn't walk at all.
That's the worst place to have it happen.
Yeah.
Where you're going.
Well, somebody took me to the first urgent care, and they were like, maybe you just need to go to the emergency room. And it's like, I'm in pain, but it's not to the point where I need to go there. I know that. So they took me to a different one. And then that's when Gary Brown contacted me to make sure I was okay. Because he was working in India, and I was the one that was furthest away. So, I was at the center that was the furthest away, so he didn't know. So, but they took care of me.
Good things will happen this time.
Well, let's hope so for once. It'd be nice if I could listen to this before that.
I feel the same way.
Oh no, you're a lot better than me. I mean, look at me. Unfortunately, the shirt shows it.
How long do you drive?
I have about 3 hours. So I got Latvia. I'm leaving here too.
Okay.
So
Safe travels.
thanks.
See you in July.
All right.
Okay.
Keep going, Claire. All right. Take care.
Dude, see you.
All right, shall we?
I've got, once we start, I'm going to make a few housekeeping social items. So I'll be off briefly, and then I'll
Okay.
hop right back to you.
Okay, I'll do a little like introduction of the teams while you do that. You just give me a thumbs up when you're good. State Championship Sunday continues at Dale's Weston Lanes in Wausau at the site of the 25th Annual Wisconsin High School Bowling State Championships on BowlStreamTV. Good morning, everybody. The fun rolls on. The drama continues with the girls' team competition. My name's Jesse Nelson from ESPN Wisconsin. Emil Williams Jr. of BowlStreamTV is here as well. And we are excited to bring you the girls' team competitions. Division 2 is up first. Division 1 to follow. Emil, this is going to be an exciting match. And always when we go from the singles competition where it's like quiet as everyone's on the approach and you're taking all the time to think over every shot. You can hear a pin drop in the place. It's going to be a different type of atmosphere here at Dale's Weston Lanes in about 4 minutes.
No doubt about it. And team competition in the sport of bowling is like no other, especially at the youth level, because it is pure. It's just the enjoyment of wanting to win for your teammate, playing for your teammate, and especially in the Baker competition, because Baker can go either way, right? And this is still 2-game total pinfall.
That is correct, yep.
Matches. So, in those situations, you could see a team kind of get out to a head start, hot lead. But, last year I was listening to some of our work last year, and I came across the question you asked. But what's a good deficit like where a team may be able to still, come back? And I've seen 40, I've seen 50 pins, in the rare case 60. But a team is never really out of it in this format, which makes it even more exciting.
It's always fun to see how the teams are able to collect themselves as you switch lanes and go for the 2-game total pin count. And we'll see how Campbellsport and Elkhart Lake Glenbeulah are able to handle that here this morning at Dale's Weston Lanes. Let's introduce the teams here for you. The number 3 seed Campbellsport Cougars in the blue uniforms, as you see here on the left side of your screen, warming up on lanes 7 and 8. Campbellsport with a season record of 9-1 overall this season. They're a team that for the season averaged a 155, qualified by averaging a 153 over their 15 games of qualifying on Saturday afternoon and Friday afternoon for the 3 different squads that competed throughout the course of this weekend here at the Wisconsin High School Bowling State Championships. Campbellsport, as the 3 seed, competed last night in the stepladder finals of the team competition. They defeated the number 5 seed Antigo, the 343 to 273 final in semifinal match number 2, and then a thriller against the 2 seed Sauk Prairie, 392 to 282 in semifinal match number 3. And you talk about that deficit, Emil. The Campbellsport Cougars trailed by 10 after that first game last night, 156-146. No problem for them. The Cougars come back and win the second match convincingly, 246 to 126.
Wow, that says a lot
advance.
too, especially when you got to switch lanes, right? And
Yeah.
so there's no guarantees when you got to make the lane change. But you know, that's where the coaches really come into play in this format. When you got to move lanes, so the coach is obviously watching their team, but kind of keeping an eye also on what's happening on the other lane. So when it's time to make the lane switch, they can have their team as best as prepared as possible.
Campbellsport's a proven squad. They defeated Antigo, as I mentioned, in that semifinal number 2 last night. Antigo, the defending state champion for the girls in Division 2. So that was a big win for Campbellsport last night, and they are led by Brianna Thompson, the reigning girls state individual champion, who was just dethroned a few moments ago by Juliana Bergman of Sheboygan, who is going to be bowling as part of the team competition for the Sheboygan area squad coming up in Division 1 in just a little bit.
Well, we watched her, obviously. We know she can play. I assume she would be in that anchor position. And when you got a player like that as an anchor player, you just really want to get it to your that particular player, you know, and hopefully in a good position to do what's necessary to win the match.
I do want to talk about Elkhart Lake Glen Beulah here. The Resorters finished the season with a record of 5-7. And you might be thinking, well, what a Cinderella story. 5-7, and they're going to be playing it. Well, wait a minute. They're in District 7A, where there's only 3 different programs. So Elkhart Lake Glen Beulah's girls program actually competes against Sheboygan, who's a finalist for the girls in Division 1. They compete against the boys teams from that area, who are always star-studded, Fond du Lac, Sheboygan, and so on. So they've played outstanding competition, probably the most grueling schedule for a regular season of anybody throughout the course of this year. So don't let that 5-7 record deceive you.
Wow.
It's a team that has a 58% fill, 26% strike. They average a 149, but averaged a 162 when it mattered most over the 15 games of qualifying to earn the number 1 overall seed. Been a tough pattern for the teams to try and figure out this weekend here at Dales Weston Lanes. That's been something that has been consistent across all levels for all squads. It's a different pattern than what the individual competition took place on. So we'll see how the teams are able to acclimate themselves here this afternoon to that pattern. It is the same pattern as they faced throughout the 15 games of qualifying, and in the case of Campbellsport, in the semifinals last night here at Dales Weston Lanes. Elkhart Lake Glen Beulah finished as the runners-up to Antigo last year in the Division II Girls Team State Championship. They want to prevail as the winners this year. They have their eyes set on it as the number 1 seed. 2-game total pin count. Practice is done. Teams meeting with their respective coaches. Moments away from the Division II Girls Bowling Team Competition at the 2023 25th Annual Wisconsin High School Bowling State Championships.
There's a quick look at the pattern too. 39 feet with 25 mils. Similar volume across the singles and the team pattern, but obviously 5 feet shorter. The singles pattern was 44 feet, the team pattern 39 feet. So the players will see their ball start to hook a little bit earlier, as we've got the wave going in the building as well. Oh, we've got everything you want for a state championship atmosphere. Again, shout out to BCAW and all of their sponsors and advertisers. Storm, of course, Bob's Business, of course, the Wisconsin High School Bowling Club and everything that they have done, certainly. What an atmosphere. The teams did switch lanes, and so the higher seeded team in Girls Division II is Elkhart Lake Glen Beulah, so they will start on lane 8. They had lane choice.
Lane 8 for Elkhart Lake Glen Beulah, lane 9 for Campbellsport. The team competition is underway, and the first roll for Elkhart Lake Glen Beulah is a 9 count in frame number 1. We'll do our best to shout out some of the bowlers as they get up on the approaches for each of these respective teams. Campbellsport a little more difficult for us back here without having names on the backs of their jerseys, but an 8 count begins on lane 9 for the Campbellsport Cougars. Fill percentage for each of these teams this year as Elkhart Lake Glenbeulah converts the opening frame spare. 58% for the Resorters on the left in the red. 61% team fill for the Campbellsport Cougars on the right side in the blue. We mentioned some of the significant names for each of these respective teams. You see Brianna Thompson of Campbellsport, the reigning state champion for the individual competition for the Cougars, holding things down on the back end for Campbellsport as the Cougars convert on the first spare of the game. 8 count for Elkhart Lake Glenbeulah on lane 8. Important to find spares. They don't win you the state championship, but they will lose it for you if you don't successfully convert. Campbellsport, second frame. Brooklyn, 9 count. So a 1-pin advantage for Campbellsport through 1 frame. Back on 8, Elkhart Lake Glenbeulah looking to convert a right side spare, and they do so successfully. Nice pickup for the Resorters as a team, 32% on their spares this season. And that was Tristan Dirks able to convert it. Single pin spare opportunity on lane 9 for Campbellsport, coming across the lane, and an open frame for the Cougars. So the first mistake of significance in this state championship match belongs to Campbellsport. Can Elkhart Lake Glenbeulah take advantage? Third frame. Looks good. Solid pin action, but leaving a 7-pin on the left-hand side. Three makeable spares potentially for Elkhart Lake Glenbeulah to start this match. Meanwhile, how about a strike in frame number 3? First strike for either team belongs to Campbellsport. It's a way to help overcome the open frame. Going right to left. This is not an easy pickup, but Ellison Desuarte, the junior, 61% fill on the season. Desuarte picks it up for Elkhart Lake Glenbeulah. They're 3 for 3 on their spares. Campbellsport about to take the approach in frame 4, but actually Elkhart Lake Glenbeulah beat them to it. And a Brooklyn-style strike. That's one way to do it. First strike for the Resorters. That was the senior Taylor Dirks. Meanwhile, Campbellsport hammers it home. Paige Jordan, big strike in the 4th. Back-to-back for the Cougars. For two teams that averaged 162 and 153 through qualifying. Looking pretty good so far here through the first 4 frames.
And you know, Jesse, the best part about that is none of it matters now. It's about the next 2 games. Great shot by the southpaw.
That was an excellent shot for the Resorters, and that's the lefty Caitlin Kessler in the anchor position for Elkhart Lake Glenbeulah. 31% strike percentage on the year, 64% fill. Kessler comes up with the big shot.
You know, there's so many ways you'd like to start a Baker game, but I would take this start certainly from Elkhart. And Campbellsport doing the same exact thing. And now a 3-backer in that regard. I like their 4-5, both teams 4-5 duos.
That was Brianna Thompson's first shot of this match, the reigning 2022 girls state champion, Elkhart Lake Beulah. Sometimes you need a little help, and the pins just rolled the right way for the resorters for 3 in a row.
Onions.
Campbellsport back around. Taylor Molaski. 4 in a row for the Cougars.
That's why momentum is so important. We talked about it in the singles match, but it's like ×3 in team competition because you're just feeding off of the players before you. Oh, wow.
And that's Taylor Dirks pushing a little bit right for Elkhart Lake Glen Beulah. Leaves the head pin. That's a 1-2-4.
I actually think she was distracted by not the full rack that came down on 9. It was not a full rack,
sure,
which kind of crumbled, and I think that happened right as she was about to release the ball. So inadvertent, obviously, but I think that caught her eye.
Those are the kind of distractions that, if that does happen when you're on the approach, you can choose to try and play through it and just think of it like any other day, or you take the step back and catch yourself as you're mid-release and
which is hard to do. It is hard to do.
Sometimes that can mess with you even more.
Some are better than others at just pulling up and stopping.
So 7th frame shot for Campbellsport. This is a substitution. It was Hannah Thielen who had the 2nd frame for the Cougars. Now Olivia Bagel comes in for the 7th frame. And it's a baby split on the right-hand side of the lane. Makeable spare. Meanwhile, Dirks converts in the 7th for Elkhart Lake Glen Beulah. The Resorters finished 2nd a year ago in Appleton. Getting used to seeing Elkhart Lake Glen Beulah in these big-time matches at the state competition.
We saw them last year, right?
We did. And meanwhile, Campbellsport does, in fact, pick up that spare. Great shot by Olivia. And with 3 frames to go, we have ourselves a tight match.
Oh, great shot.
That was a good ball in the 8th frame for Elkhart Lake Glen Beulah.
And the way this match is setting up already, Jesse, looks like whoever can gain the best advantage here in game 1, obviously would have the advantage, but just looking ahead, if you can get ahead 30 pins, it might be just enough. And just enough to sneak by.
Lefty Aubrey Canings on the left-hand side, on the right-hand side, lane 9 for Campbellsport, left the 7 pin.
It's a good spare.
Single pin spares on each lane. Elkhart Lake Glen Beulah converts. Can Campbellsport do the same? Always a little extra pressure in a championship match, but Canings, a senior, delivers. 58% fill on the season for Aubrey Canings. Sets up 9th and 10th frame for some potentially big scores here in game number 1 of the 2-game total. Taylor Dirks. Not sure she was a big fan of that shot, but she's a fan of it on her way back to her team. I think she thought she pushed it inside, but that's what this oil pattern is doing this weekend, and it just sat there and ended up in the pocket perfectly. It was a great shot.
That was a perfect break for her, and then on the flip side, we see the wrap 10 on lane 9.
Yeah, Paige Jordan looked good, left the 10. So now we're looking at Elkhart Lake Glen Beulah potentially in the driver's seat here, even though in the 8th frame they're listed by being down 1 pin, but with the strike in the 9th, could become a big factor here heading into the 10th frame, and now even more so with the open in the 9th by Campbellsport. That is the frame you do not want to open.
And if you're Brianna Thompson, Caitlin Kessler for Elkhart Lake, to get up and throw 2 strikes in the 10th, because now their max is 233. Campbellsport now max at 213, so you'd love to have a minimum of a 20-pin advantage.
The lefty, Caitlin Kessler.
Look a little. Oh,
beautiful shot, right where she wanted it.
Can't throw it any better than that, Jesse.
Max 233 if Kessler can finish it out. Now it's a max 213 for Campbellsport if Brianna Thompson can deliver 3 strikes. would keep the Cougars within 20 if everyone hits everything. Not quite. Came up high. Another baby split on the right-hand side for Campbellsport to convert. Kessler for the Resorters. That one comes up high, but bulldozes 9 pins down. It's a good break for the Resorters.
That was a very good example of just how 5 feet difference in length from the singles pattern to the team pattern. That would have continued on and not read the lane as early as it did.
And another open frame for Campbellsport. Devastating finish to game number 1 for the Cougars. 9th and 10th frames open for a total of 192. And an open on the final shot from Kessler going across the lane. Still a 221 for Elkhart Lake Glen Beulah. So if you're playing at home, that is a 29-pin advantage for the Resorters over Campbellsport heading into game number 2. And you mentioned in the open, Emil, that that's definitely surmountable in the 2-game total pin count. I mean, I've been part of matches where 80, 90 pins have been overcome. I've also been and seen part of matches where 10 or 15 pins feels like it's undoable.
Yeah, for Campbellsport, it's less about the deficit and more about kind of how they finished the game. They had a couple opens late, and so, you know, they know that they would either have been in the lead or maybe just a single pin differential as opposed to 29 and just based on spare shooting late. You hear it, folks.
This is what we come for.
The Cougar chants.
Elkhart Lake cheering on their squad, Campbellsport cheering on their team. It is a great atmosphere here at the team championships, and you mentioned during the singles competition, Emil, it's only gotten more crowded. This bowl-type atmosphere here at Dale's Weston Lanes. There's no elevation behind the approach like some centers have, but bleachers are set up on either side, and then you've got standing room. You got people bringing the bar stools over and standing on top of them. You got small children on the shoulders of their parents watching on their siblings. It's incredible atmosphere here at the state championships. Game number 2, Campbellsport starts with a bang. That's the start the Cougars needed to try and overcome the 29-point pin deficit. How about Elkhart Lake Glen Beulah? First ball of game 2, leaves 2 pins on the left side. 4-7 pickup, which is not easy on this oil pattern for a right-hand bowler coming across the lane.
We did get a strike on, right? Lane 8? Am I?
Yes.
Right, okay.
I don't know if there's a something going on.
Had to make me think, like, wait, did they not bowl?
They definitely did. Yeah, now they've got it marked in there, so just had to make a correction of some kind. Meanwhile, the spare missed by Elkhart Lake Glen Beulah, and just like that, with a strike in the first frame and an open for Elkhart, Campbellsport with an opportunity to be instantly almost even in this match.
And it's wild how quickly that can happen in a total pinfall scenario. This is not best of 3. It's 2 games total, so it changes obviously per frame. If they can get out to an early double here, which could be, and there it is.
Big start for the Cougars. When they needed it most, Campbellsport delivers. Elkhart Lake Glen Beulah now needs to not get rattled by the start for Campbellsport. That's always one of the tough things in this competition, and another difficult pickup here.
And again, the lane switch, right? It's a small detail, but a very important detail because, and both teams had a chance to practice on both lanes, so that's there. But, after you get into a groove, especially Elkhart Lake, they feel pretty good about 8. Then they got to go over to 9. Not sure what is going to be provided or presented to him. Ooh,
Spare pickup on 9. They needed it. Dirks got it.
very important spare.
Tristan Dirks marks for the Resorters. Campbellsport, that was a little strong from Koenig's, the lefty, in the 3rd frame, but Campbellsport still happy where they're at here through 3 frames. Let's see if they can pick up the spare and stay clean. Frame 3 for Elkhart Lake Glen Beulah. Ball didn't come back. And it leaves another 4 count to make. Not capitalizing on the spare by only getting 6. And Koenig's chopped her spare opportunity for an open.
You don't see that often, but it's certainly possible to take the 1 right off the 3. The first open frame, but again, that early double is what helps them be still in that good position. And you know, now Campbellsport is essentially playing from the lead now.
Yeah, another open for Elkhart Lake Glen Beulah. So they sit at 33 in the 3rd frame. Campbellsport with 56, so they have made up 23 pins just like that. They still trail by 6 officially here as we enter frame number 4. And a 7 count for the Cougars. Not an easy spare on the right-hand side. Elkhart Lake Glen Beulah, 4th frame. Brooklyn, yes. Tristan, direction. Taylor Dirks, the senior. 32% striker on the year. 67% field percentage, leads the team in both categories. She knocks home a big-time strike for Elkhart Lake Glen Beulah. Campbellsport, response. That's a spare. Nice pickup. Great match already here in Division II Girls Team State Championship. Division I to follow here on BowlStreamTV. Plenty of business to take care of over the final 6 frames here. Another Brooklyn strike for Kessler.
Big break.
Back-to-back Brooklyn strikes for the Resorters of Elkhart Lake Glen Beulah. And what's rule number 1, Emil Williams? Never complain about a strike.
That is your number 1. If I never remember anything from our time together, I'm going to remember that.
I'm not sure I've ever made rule number 2. I just know that that's rule number 1. Fifth frame, Brianna Thompson. Clutch performer. Good ball, just didn't get the 10 pin to fall. You saw the pin action. One pin sat right in front of that 10 on the right-hand side. Barely bumped it, didn't hit it enough to knock it down.
Well, when you get a couple of breaks, and this is whether you're bowling on a team, individually, whatever the case is, you got to be able to take advantage. Elkhart Lake has an opportunity to take advantage of some good fortune as they begin the top half, or excuse me, the back half of this pivotal game 2.
Thompson opened the 10th frame on the other lane for Campbellsport, but she does knock this one down. Halfway home in game number 2. 2-game total pin count. Campbellsport and Elkhart Lake Glen Beulah. Campbellsport, the number 3 seed in the team championship here. They defeated 2-seed Sauk Prairie in the semifinal match last night. Prior to that, they knocked off the defending state champs Antigo. And Campbellsport starts the back half of the game with a strike in the 6th.
A trip 4 into the 9. And talking about getting a break, that's a nice one. And they're on the other side, right? Similar hit, maybe a little bit slower. And, of course, that was almost the 4-7-9.
So now I don't think if you're Elkhart Lake Glen Beulah, you want to make an extra risk and try and get this spare. I would say just take the 1.
Sure. I mean, honestly, at this point in the match, you might have to go for it. Yeah, they're already
off a double.
Trailing. Campbellsport has all the momentum. That's a good.
That was a good run at it, but they come up empty.
You know, if this was a 3-game match, then you want to secure the count. But in this situation, I don't think they really had a choice but to try to go for it.
So an 87 is the total through 6 frames for Elkhart Lake Glenbeulah. Campbellsport has back-to-back strikes in the 6th and 7th frame, and the Cougars coming on strong. Big strike for Dirks. Elkhart Lake Glenbeulah won't let Campbellsport just take it. 29 pins is the difference after 1 game. Elkhart Lake Glenbeulah was leading after the first 10 frames. Campbellsport pushed it way right. Koenig's. That is not an easy spare in the middle of the lane.
No, and if you're Elkhart Lake, this is where you make your comeback.
Ellison Duarte. Light. A 4-pack on the left side. And now all the fans here in attendance at Weston Lanes trying to crunch the numbers on the score. Trying to figure out, what do we need? What was the score of the last game? What's the difference?
Campbellsport just has to worry about making spares, right? And they go in, they make a change there.
It does not work out.
3rd frame, it did not work out. They went, and that was an okay move. You go with the righty to shoot that since the head pin's up. It did not work out that time. And now things have kind of gotten a little closer, especially if the spare is made.
Open frame. 61% fill on the year for Ellison Duarte, the junior. 146 to 115. That is a 31-pin lead for Campbellsport in the game. That means Campbellsport leads by 2 with 2 frames left.
Oh boy.
And a split on 8.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Taylor Dirks, the senior for Elkhart Lake Glenbeulah. Pressure shot in the 9th. Pushed it left. Got 7. A little bit of a messy situation on both lanes.
That's another tough spare. Right now, if you were to give the count in this split situation and Campbellsport were to strike out, they'd have, well, let's see. Let's just make sure.
That's a 155 with the 2 count, so they would get 185 if they max out here for the game.
Yeah, that would be 377 total for Campbellsport. That's, again, assuming they can get all 3 in the 10th. That would force first and foremost. All right.
They get the spare. That's a big shot for Taylor Dirks, the senior.
157 for Elkhart Lake Glenbeulah to win, and that's if, big if, Campbellsport strikes out in the 10th frame.
This is going to come down to the clutch performers for both teams. Brianna Thompson.
That's a great shot.
For Campbellsport. Got the pin action to help her out with a strike.
That was a great shot from the start. You saw it. Beautiful shot. The 9-pin almost stood, but when you throw it that good, sometimes you do get the breaks. They got one there.
Now for Elkhart Lake Glenbeulah, the lefty Caitlin Kessler.
This is a must strike here. They do have a little bit of room to wiggle.
She's been throwing great in this match. Comes up high on the head pin, leaves 4 on the left-hand side. Campbellsport now in the driver's seat. If Brianna Thompson can strike, I think the Cougars will clinch it.
If she strikes, you are correct. They need 180 to get it done. Must strike.
Thompson for the state title. The Campbellsport Cougars, the Division II state champions. Kessler picks up the spare for Elkhart Lake Glenbeulah. And they don't even have to keep this on the lane if they don't want to. But for good measure, why not finish with 3? Brianna Thompson leads the Campbellsport Cougars to the Division II state championship. The celebration is on for Campbellsport.
You know, sometimes when you look at the mathematical scores and the situations, and you say, all right, a team needs to do this if they strike out in the 10th frame. Rarely does it happen. But Campbellsport delivered in the 10th frame. They did what they had to do. They put all of the pressure on Elkhart Lake Glenbeulah to show up in the 10th frame. And it ended up being closer, certainly. Campbellsport did need to, they needed 180, so they needed 5. But at that point, the way Brianna Thompson was throwing it, they had the right person at the right time, certainly, in a state championship for Campbellsport.
377 to 369 is the final total. Campbellsport overcomes a 29-pin deficit at the turn to win the Division II Girls Team Championship. Division I of the Girls Team Championship coming up next between the Sun Prairie East-West Marshall Cambridge team and Sheboygan area. And what will be a star-studded championship in Division I. So don't go anywhere. That's coming up in mere moments here on BowlStreamTV. But the celebration is on for the Campbellsport Cougars, champions in Division II, the girls team competition. We'll step aside for just a moment and come back as we introduce the teams and get you set for the Division I competition in mere moments on BowlStreamTV. Roger, we're doing all the trophies at the end, right? Yeah. Okay. Give me a thumbs up when you're ready.
It's the first thing she said. He probably could hear you. He videotapes you every time you talk.
I don't think I got a single one. Nah, it's like you're gonna take a breath. Set aside some time in the studio, take a couple hours, and just go through them all. It's an adventure every year. Thank you. I know we don't get them all right. I know when I bowled in this years ago, my name wasn't pronounced right. So I understand everyone's. I understand. Yep. Now? All right, ladies and gentlemen, the girls team competition continues at the 25th Annual Wisconsin High School Bowling State Championships with Division I. Competing in the championship match today, the number 3 seed, Sheboygan. And the number 1 seed, Sun Prairie East-West Marshall Cambridge. Good luck and good bowling to our Division I competitors. Practice will start momentarily. The Wisconsin High School Bowling State Championships continue with Division I, the girls' team competition. Boys competition for the teams. Division II and Division I still to follow a little bit later as we get into the late morning stages here at Dale's Weston Lanes in Wausau, Wisconsin. Jesse Nelson, Emil Williams Jr. on BowlStreamTV. We welcome everyone in, whether it's something you make a staple of your regular weekly routine to join BowlStreamTV and watch these competitions, or whether this is your first time joining us to watch somebody you know competing in the competition here this morning. We appreciate all the work that Emil does to make sure everything's all set up here and good to go. Appreciate you, buddy.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
It's our pleasure to bring these championships to you. 10 minutes of practice underway for the Division I Team State Championships between Sheboygan and we'll call it Sun Prairie because it's a co-op program. We'll start with them as we introduce these teams. Sun Prairie East, Sun Prairie West. As a resident of Sun Prairie, unbiased, I have no connection to this bowling team, but I will say
it's important to disclose.
I can share some light on the fact that the two high schools, this is the first year that they exist. Previously, it was just Sun Prairie High School, but the city has grown so much with people like me moving in that they've now divided the high schools into Sun Prairie East, Sun Prairie West. That's part of one of the reasons that I think maybe the boys co-ed program is not competing after they've been a regular staple, it feels, in the top 5 over the last several years. But some of the good bowlers from that program, some go one way, some go the other, east-west, and ends up that, it kind of thins the field a little bit for what you have on your squad. And so the boys co-ed team not competing as one this year does not qualify for the top 5. But we're not talking about the boys right now. We're talking about the girls team, which is together. Sun Prairie East, Sun Prairie West, and then surrounding communities Marshall and Cambridge represented on this team as well. The number 1 overall seed in the girls team competition, qualifying with a total pinfall of 2,952 over the 15 games. Relatively low based on some of what we normally see at these state championships. That's a 197 average. But Emil, that goes to show how difficult this pattern was because they were far and away the best average of the qualifying teams over the 15 games yesterday.
And as you said, they still didn't even get to plus from that vantage point. So, the 39-foot lane pattern has been, we just saw our first look at it from a team perspective. In our first match, as we throw it on the screen really quickly, and you see how much time we have left. Again, 39 feet. You saw some of the players, and we'll see some of the players, seeing what the gutter has out there, meaning they're going to throw a few balls to the right. It's 5 feet less, so you should see a little bit more shape down lane. That could play into the advantage, especially for Sun Prairie. They've got a couple players with some higher rev rates, so we'll see if that does ultimately get the job done.
Sun Prairie, the number 1 seed, warming up on the right-hand side of the screen as you see it now on BowlStreamTV. A perfect 10-0 record in the season. District 4 champions from the greater Madison area. About a 2-hour drive from Madison to get up here to Wausau. I can speak from experience, specifically from Sun Prairie, making the drive last night. Mentioned that 197 average throughout qualifying. As a team, they strike 43% of the time. They fill 75% of the time. This is a solid squad with solid leadership in place, a veteran squad that doesn't graduate anybody this year. They just have a really experienced group of juniors that is ready to try and take a state title here today.
Well, that's impressive when you can say that you're not graduating anybody. And you can never guarantee success, too, when we say that, right? A lot of times teams return underclassmen, and you hope the experience will result in a championship-type setting, but that is not a guarantee. Just because you're an experienced team doesn't mean you're going to win. But when you hear that, I perked up immediately, like, oh, man, this is a group that should know one another pretty well. So we got obviously 2 of the best teams, certainly in the state, in girls Division I. The two-handed aspect, not only just for Sun Prairie, but of course we just watched the state champion, Juliana Bergman, take care of the singles title, and now she will anchor this squad. I assume she will anchor the squad. I don't know, but I assume.
I guess it's not a given, but you would assume if you're the girls' state champion, just like we saw Brianna Thompson lead Campbellsport to the victory in the anchor position, that Juliana would be in that position for Sheboygan here coming up. By the way, these are 2 blue bloods of Wisconsin high school bowling going at it here this afternoon. These are 2 squads that are consistently finishing top 5 at state. Sun Prairie, we'll call them SPMC. I see that's how a lot of the fans are calling them. Sun Prairie Marshall, Cambridge. So we'll call them SPMC. Each of the last 4 years, they will have finished in the top 3 at state. Last year, 3rd place in Appleton. Year before that, 3rd place in Ashwaubenon. In 2020, here at Dales Weston Lanes, that's the last time that the SPMC squad won a state title. Sheboygan, much of the same. This will be the 4th straight year that they finish top 4 in the state tournaments in the same duration of time. Last year in Appleton, 4th place finish. In 2021 in Ashwaubenon, they won it all. 1st place in that competition. In 2020, here at Dales Weston Lanes, a 3rd place finish for Sheboygan. Sheboygan squad 9-3 on the year, best record in District 7A, and we talked about it with the Elkhart Lake Glen Beulah squad that just took the runner-up spot in Division 2. That's a small district for bowling teams, so they all bowl against each other. They bowl against the boys teams, the co-ed teams, so everyone's kind of beating up on each other. So that 9-3 record, if you put them in any other district, may look different than what it does against that great competition. They're a team that strikes 31% of the time, Sheboygan, with a 65% team fill. Season average, a little bit lower than what you might think, 161, but they well surpassed that in the 15 games of qualifying on Friday and Saturday. 178 was the team's average. That's 17 pins better than their regular season average. In the stepladder finals last night, Sheboygan defeated the number 5 seed Oshkosh West 387 to 341 in the second semifinal. And then in semifinal number 3, they defeated the 2 seed Kenosha Indian Trail 403 to 354. High totals in that penultimate semifinal last night. Sheboygan was a team, much like Campbellsport we just saw in the last game. Sheboygan trailed 203 to 190 after 1 game, so only 13 pins. That's definitely a lead that you feel comfortable being able to come back from with a couple of strikes thrown together, but nonetheless, it was a comeback win in that semifinal for Sheboygan last night.
Well, again, we just saw it, right? 29 pins was the lead initially for Elkhart Lake, Glen Beulah in Division 2, Campbellsport, and really all it took was just a few early opens, and Campbellsport doubled, and the momentum quickly shifted. And that's what you got to watch out for. This match is going to be very interesting. The first game certainly will tell a lot, but you know I think we should see a pretty even match, and I think as most Baker competitions do, it will come down certainly to our 4 and 5, the final players in the lineup to make shots, just like we saw Brianna Thompson have to double in the 10th frame to win a state championship. I expect the same thing here in Division 1, and boy, this should be fun.
Sun Prairie, SPMC, and Sheboygan going at it here in the Division 1 Girls Team State Championship from Dales Weston Lanes in Wausau, Wisconsin on BowlStreamTV. Jesse Nelson and Emil Williams Jr. with you. 2 minutes remaining in practice time for Sheboygan and SPMC as we count down to the start of this 2-game total pinfall match here this morning. Again, 2 games, total pins. That's been the format throughout the entirety of the stepladder semifinals last night up to the championship match here today. Same format that the boys co-ed teams will follow later today as well. Same format that we saw Campbellsport defeat Elkhart Lake Glen Beulah in the Division 2 title match just a few moments ago. The crowd here at Dales Weston Lanes is incredible. And we say it every year that we're at these high school bowling state championships, Emil, but the situation that they have set up this year, the bleachers are set up more like almost like a rotunda. Yep. In a way, where it's like from the left-hand side, they kind of curve in. So we've seen the straightforward bleachers along the sides before. You see that at a lot of the PBA events for the TV finals. This one's a little more angled. And so they're filling in behind our broadcast booth right behind the lanes, but also on the far left side, on the far right end of the lane. And I'm looking all the way down near lanes like 17 and 18, and there's still a bunch of fans standing in there.
And
they're 8 or 9
18,
deep.
Right. That particular area has a few chairs, but that's essentially the standing room only, basically. So if you had an SRO ticket, that is where you would stand. And the bleachers to our right, as Jesse just mentioned, kind of an L-shaped over there, but with the top part of that L kind of angular, so you can see just about everything. You know, both teams will be switching lanes, so if you're worried about seeing a particular lane, you know you're going to see your particular team or your favorite team at some point. But you can see everything, man. It's no bad seat here. Big shout out to everyone here at Dale's Weston Lanes. I didn't even know we were getting the stage until last night, so that was music to my ears. I was already worried about, okay, how are we going to see over the top of people, and they took care of it. So big thanks to the staff here, certainly Dale and everyone involved here at the center.
Yeah, not just for what they do for us, but what they do for all the fans and all the bowlers in attendance here this weekend. Weston Lanes is probably the most commonly trafficked place for the Wisconsin High School Bowling State Championships. It's been 3 years since we were last here in 2020, but it's really just about every other year that we average getting up here to Dale's Weston Lanes, and it's just a spectacular center with the 20 lanes on one side, 40 lanes on the other, so you can divide the competition around. You had the semifinals last night on the large half. This championship today is on the smaller half. Open space available for fans to come and go. Great concession area. They've got this thing down to a science from all the years that they've hosted this state championship tournament.
No doubt about it. The menu, they had like a full menu. They let you know ahead of time before you got here on Friday what was on the menu, the best places to go order. They've got signage everywhere, diagrams to make your way around, because it's so big, right? If you, depending on which door you come into, you may be looking for the low side, you may be looking for the high side, and they've taken care of everything. So excellent work by Weston Lane staff and certainly BCAW as well.
Always has a special place in my heart coming here, because this is where my Muskego Warriors team in 2010 finished 5th place. We got to bowl in those semifinals on Saturday night. We had just a heck of a day throughout the qualifying. Our fans brought the inflatable thunder sticks that they had at giveaways at a Brewers game, and so they were clapping those together to make noise. Oh, my gosh. 15 years ago that was, and it just feels like it was yesterday. Absolutely incredible atmosphere here at Dale's Weston Lanes for the state championships, and that's what Sheboygan and SPMC are about to experience as the teams huddle for one final time before beginning the championship match. Division I girls team competition. It's going to get loud. Again, as Emil mentioned moments ago, Sheboygan does feature Juliana Bergman, the 2023 girls individual state champion, bowled her championship match less than an hour ago. And now she will try and go for the double up by helping lead her Sheboygan team to a state championship. Abby Schleicher has the first ball of the championship match. And it is not going to be an easy pickup.
A little nerves, I'm sure. Again, these lanes are fresh. You know, the first matches were contested on lanes 8 and 9. We've now moved to 6 and 7. Again, 39 feet. But the outside part of the lane is still a bit troublesome to try to play. Even if you take the rule of 31 with 39 feet, that still leaves you with, 8, 9-ish from a breakpoint perspective. That was like 2 or 3.
SPMC, 9 count on the first ball.
That's a great shot to open up things. You want to throw the best shot you can, certainly. Leave yourself something makeable if you don't strike, and then just be calm, take your time, go through your process to make your spare.
Abby Schleicher, the freshman for Sheboygan, trying to get what she can here. Takes the 2 for a 9 count in the first frame. If you're going to have it open, that's where you want it, in the first frame. So now can SPMC come up with a spare conversion to start the championship match? It's pushed a little bit right. For a left-handed bowler like that, coming left to right across the lane, definitely not an easy pickup, especially with the oil pattern that's in place here. A tricky start for both teams with 9 counts in the first frame with an open. Second frame, Sheboygan, 7 count. Makeable spare on the right-hand side. SPMC Brooklyn strike goes. First strike of the match. Shuana Vang picks up the first strike for SPMC, and now a spare conversion for Sheboygan. Marks for both teams in frame 2. "20 frames away from crowning a Division I girls team champion between two of the powerhouses in Wisconsin high school bowling, Sheboygan and Sun Prairie. Shea Bruce for Sheboygan, left-handed bowler on lane 6. Rolls it right into the pocket, but unfortunately leaves the 7-pin remaining. What a strike for Sun Prairie on lane 7. Back-to-back strikes in frames 2 and 3. SPMC figuring things out. Now Aaliyah Bruce again trying to come with the left hand to convert this single pin spare. Big moment in this match, and she pushed it just a little bit right. So Sheboygan sits with a 37 in the third frame with 2 of 3 opens. Sun Prairie opened the first frame and has responded with back-to-back strikes. Now here's Jolene Bruce, the senior. Leads the team in fill percentage, 72% on the year, and when Sheboygan needs a mark, they've got their bowler up there. Pushed it a little bit right, leaves 3 pins in the middle. Sheboygan having a tough time finding the line here through the first run of the lineup. It's the junior Libby Porter now stepping onto the approach for SPMC. Porter, light on the right-hand side, leaves a mess of 4 pins to pick up.
That's intriguing to watch. That shot really wasn't that bad, but to leave that, don't expect to leave that. That's a tough spare to make, obviously.
And so is this one with this oil pattern. Jolene Bruce coming across the lane, and yeah, that's going to happen. Jolene Bruce with an open frame. Doesn't happen often, 72% fill. And she's 40% on her spares this year. One of the higher percentages of any bowler that we've seen so far today. Libby Porter going to do all she can to try and come across the lane and get these 4. What does she have in store? 3. Leaves 1. Was not an easy shot, and that's a 63 for Sun Prairie after 4. A 46 for Sheboygan with both teams having open frames. So it's a 17-pin advantage for SPMC heading into frame 5. And here is the state champion, Juliana Bergman, delivering a strike just like she did in the individual competition earlier today.
Yeah, you thought she would be in the anchor role. She is, and that calming, stabilizing force that your anchor can provide. Like, you're never out of it when you have that kind of player in that position.
And it's not just what she means for the actual score for the team in that anchor position, but just instilling the confidence and the momentum swing that strike in the 5th can provide after you have 3 of your first 4 frames opens. If Juliana steps up there, hits that strike, encourages the rest of the team, kind of turn things around in frames 6, 7, and 8.
It really is a big deal too, Jesse. Like, I think that's actually one of the more underrated points about Baker bowling is if you have a scenario that you just talked about, we have it, right? open. Okay, that anchor player is the rock, right? That person should help turn it around, and that's why that position is so important. Not just the doubles in the 10th, but it happens still early in the 5th frame.
Anchor bowler for SPMC is Ava Rodefeld, a junior, 84% fill on the year, and she does fill the 5th frame. Marks for both teams at the midway point. Fairly evenly contested match again here in Division 1. Game number 1 of a 2-game total pin count. Flip the order back to the leadoff bowler, Abby Schleicher, the freshman. A little bit light on the right-hand side, leaves a 4-pack.
It's a much better shot there from Ava from what we saw in frame number 1. Frame number 1, she kind of leaked that one a little bit right. That time it looked to be on target and just could not quite get up the hill.
Now here's the freshman Maggie Porter leading off for SPMC.
The lefty. That's good.
That's a great ball. And how about the confidence from these coaches? This stage, both teams put freshmen in the leadoff spot. I love that.
That's a tall task too, but it obviously goes to show what the coaches believe in their players. And someone like Abby in this position, right? You know, when your coach believes in you, that means that you should believe in yourself, and I like to see that.
Abby coming across the lane, got to cut through that oil and didn't quite get the roll that you probably are used to seeing throughout the course of the season. That is a tough conversion on this oil pattern.
Yeah, the volume is a little bit heavier, certainly up front. I mentioned the pattern being a little bit shorter than the singles pattern, or the singles pattern. This one 39 feet, but that's still in the medium to long territory. Not a short pattern. If that pattern was like 36 feet, then that ball would have hooked. Interesting scenarios being played out here, but you know, Sun Prairie got a chance to maybe open up a lead here.
The shot again comes up a little bit light on the right-hand side for Sheboygan. Leah Bruce. For correction. That's Alayla Shurin who threw that shot for Sheboygan, my mistake. Meanwhile, a 9 count leaving a 10 pin on lane 7 in the 7th frame for SPMC. Shurin with 2 pins, missed them both. Five open frames of the first 7 for Sheboygan.
I think right now the lane condition is really playing a role for Sheboygan. You know, some of their shots have been pretty solid, but the equipment's just not quite seeing the pattern the way they would like it to see it.
Vang picks up the spare for SPMC. 2 clean frames for her in the 2nd and 7th. And with 3 frames to go in game 1 of the championship match, SPMC out in front. Now this is Aaliyah Bruce. Walking it in with the left hand for a strike, much needed for Sheboygan.
Yeah, boy, you talk about it, man. That gets the team confidence up. And again, they know in a 2-game total pinfall match, they're not out of it no matter what the situation is.
Taylor Baker in the 8th for SPMC, knocks down 7.
See Baker, the 2-handed player. We saw, of course, Juliana, the 2-handed player for Sheboygan. You just see what their balls do and how they read and look coming off the length of the pattern, the end of the pattern. A lot more right to left for Baker in that sense. That time, too much. of course, knifing through the nose.
Yeah. And that's with these lanes, as they break down, you make the adjustment. You don't have a lot of time with 2-game total. Like, you basically get 4 shots if you're in the lineup.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like
figure it out.
A mini sprint, if you will.
Big spare pickup for Sun Prairie. Max 200 for SPMC on the right-hand side. Meanwhile, on the left, max 170.
This is a big opportunity here. Jolene can double.
Jolene Bruce. 72% fill leads the team. Open to the 4th frame. Can she make the adjustment? Still light, but 9 pins fall. Makeable spare with the 5-pin right in the middle.
Well, if they move, I think the move might be just a couple boards left if that's the angle they're going to play. And they're playing them pretty straight, up and down, or front to back, I should say. And they look on target, just not enough down lane to get them to read and roll up to the 1-3 pocket. Maybe move a couple boards, keep the same angle. That way you can get closer to the 1-3.
9th frame shot, Libby Porter. Leaves 2 on the right-hand side. Neither team capitalizing significantly on some of the openings that they've been given by their opponent.
And it's interesting, too. Sun Prairie is playing further right, but they've got a little bit more rev rate overall as a team. So you're seeing their balls hook more, but then for Sheboygan, you're seeing their balls hook less overall. So it's rare, obviously, to see that, but you're seeing the opposite of both teams. One team's equipment is hooking more, the other team's not hooking enough.
They're trying to figure this thing out, and they're running out of time to try and do so here in the late stages of game 1. That's a spare pickup for SPMC.
Well, the good news for Sun Prairie, they're up 38 pins. And same thing for Sheboygan, especially depending on how Juliana finishes up here. This could end up being 150, which in the grand scheme, 150 doesn't sound that great, but in this situation, it gets you closer to making a comeback.
8 count for Juliana Bergman. I don't remember throwing an 8 count at all earlier.
No, the interesting situation now, Jesse, to me is maybe it's just lane 6 that could be iffy, right? So we'll see what Sun Prairie looks like when they go to lane 6.
Could be a tough one to try and figure out. It's always the hardest part about the 2-game total pin count setup is you switch lanes, you don't get practice on the next lane before you throw, and so you come in cold, and that leadoff bowler really needs to set the tone. Trying to figure it out. Bergman just opened the 10th frame. It's nearly unprecedented.
Again, 126, it looks insurmountable, but it's not in this format. Now, Sheboygan's got to do 2 things. One, they got to go to this lane 7 and figure out a way to try to string together some strikes. And then they're going to need a little bit of help, certainly from Sun Prairie, if they are going to make a comeback.
Stringing strikes, no doubt, is what is needed right now for Sheboygan heading into game 2. The question is, how much will they be trailing by as they switch lanes? Final shot for Ava Rodefeld, who spared in the 10th for SPMC. Brooklyn 9 for a 176 total in game 1. Well, that makes the math easy for the fans and for us. 50 pins. That's the difference. SPMC leads by 50 at the turn in the Division I girls team final.
Boy, you know, Jesse, completely unrelated to bowling. You know, I call myself a professional and call a lot of stuff, and yet I can't seem to find 1 pin in my bag, which I normally have like 38 pins and highlighters and all kinds of stuff.
Well, why don't I just give you a pen here,
I've been
pal?
searching for a pin since singles. Thank you. I had a Sharpie, but it was all dried up. I'm like, obviously, you've run too many lineup cards and rosters.
I mean, it's coming. I can't get on YouTube, man. I'm the guy who had to ask the bowling alley this morning if they could print information for me when I got here.
Oh, man.
Almost was late to the first broadcast. You and Norm might have had to hold it down during the individuals if the printer was a little slow here at Dale's Weston Lanes. At the turn, all right, Emil, what's the message here from each of the coaches in the huddles here if you're up or down by 50?
If I'm Sun Prairie, we didn't probably throw the best shots, but we also threw some really good ones at the same time. So in a way, keep doing what we're doing. We're focused in. We watch ball reaction, and then they're also probably saying, hey, keep an eye on lane 6. Maybe it's not the best lane overall based on what Sheboygan provided. So let your eyes be your guide, and we'll talk about the communication as it goes through. For Sheboygan, they go to a new lane. This is a completely new start for them. Like, don't even worry about what happened on lane 6. They go to lane 7 and focus in on the things that, whatever those things are for that team, that got them to this point, right? Last night, 192, 195, 387, 190, 213, 403. Those are the scores that got them to this point, to the championship. So they're clearly capable of producing high scores on the same pattern. Obviously, it's different. It's a different day. The atmosphere is a little bit different, obviously. You're bowling for a championship. But let's do the things that got us here, and that's the only things that we focus on.
10 frames away from crowning a Division I girls team champion. SPMC leads off up by 50. And a strike. Maggie Porter, the freshman, sets the tone, as she has throughout the course of the year. 52% striker.
Wow.
As a freshman, that's an impressive number.
Powerful ball, too. Powerful. When she's online, the last 2 shots have been excellent, and they've just pushed all 10 pins back to the curtain with force and power.
The last time the Sun Prairie squad won the state title, it was here in Wausau at Dale's Weston Lanes in 2020. And on that day, my Bradley Braves also went on to win a Missouri Valley Conference title.
Oh, look at you.
I'd like for that to happen again this afternoon, too, when they play Drake. I'm going to make sure, if consistency. Sheboygan starts with a strike of their own. And that is a burst of excitement that has been missing from the Sheboygan area squad.
So I think we'll have to keep watching the shots, but that shot from Abby was a little further right than what she was doing on lane 6. And I think if Sheboygan can maybe utilize some of the breakdown unintentionally, but Sun Prairie, broke down a little bit of an area near the gutter. And if they can use that to their advantage, we could see some more strikes.
Good ball for SPMC. That was Vang in the second frame. Same position she was in last game, where she was clean in the second and 7th. See if she can pick up the single pin spare 10 pin on the right-hand side.
If anybody can find a double right here for Sheboygan, that's online.
That came a little too far across, leaving 2 pins.
Yeah, I think Sheboygan is going to benefit from Sun Prairie starting on lane 7. They're already seeing more shape and more hook down lane than they saw at any point on lane 6.
Can they navigate these first 5 frames and go clean to stay in front? Bang, pushed it left, and an open frame in the second.
And again, 50 pins is not a lot. It sounds like a lot, but in a total pinfall scenario, even though it's just 2 games, that's not a lot.
Layla Shurin needs the spare for Sheboygan. Hit one, but not the other. Opens for both teams to tie game 2 at 28. So it remains a 50-pin lead for SPMC with 8 frames to go.
Interesting to see what type of move Baker might make here. She left with a 3-6-10 on lane 7, obviously a completely different lane.
Taylor Breaker, the 2-hand bowler in the 3rd frame, 9 count, but that was a good ball, I thought.
Was a good shot. A little bit behind the head pin. There's a subtle move certainly that can be made there.
But But again, that's that rev rate. When you're throwing
Oh,
with two hands, you
absolutely.
can cut through that oil with the long pattern, and
yeah.
then it'll cut back at the end.
That's a washout for a lot of other players. Maybe even 3 off the right.
Bruce in the third frame for Sheboygan. She was hoping for it to come back, pushed it a little far outside, got 8 out of it, but double wood. Going to be a tricky spare pickup coming across the lane with this oil pattern.
Interesting too, the pace is kind of slowed down between these two teams. It's almost like, you know, both teams are really trying to feel one another out in that sense. Like, you know, you hear that phrase in boxing a lot. Yeah, I thought the pace was a little slow just because, for game 1 specifically, because of the slower starts. And now it's kind of like, okay, let's ease our mind, let's kind of relax. We'll allow and watch what our opponent, or not watching the opponent in that regard, but, you know, allowing them to do what they have to do. It's interesting. You know, Baker can provide a different pace. It can be fast. It can be slow. I don't know if there's a rule that says you have to wait for your opponent in the finals.
I don't believe so. I think it's more where your team wants to be, because we've seen it in different styles. And I'm more of the belief that I want to be even with the other team. I'm okay slowing it down. Maybe it's because I'm a Wisconsin Badger basketball fan. I don't mind a little, like, you know, slow it down, use the play clock, the shot clock. But a lot of teams, when they feel that momentum, they just want to keep it going. They don't want to worry about what the other team's doing. Just play your lane. And, you know, we joked with Norm Duke earlier, there's no defense in bowling. Maybe there is a little bit. There's some gamesmanship for sure. But
yep, pace is one of them.
Pushed way outside. It hangs on for Libby Porter, and she's able to get a decent 7 count out of what could have been disastrous. Jolene Bruce, 4th frame. Sheboygan trailed by 50 at the turn. Bruce likes it and gets it. That was a very calm, patient ball, just 14.3 miles per hour. A lot different than some of the fastballs we've seen from some of the other successful bowlers today.
And that ball speed helped that ball turn the corner and get to the 1-3.
Spare pickup in the 4th frame for SPMC.
But Sheboygan has definitely made a move. They've elected to move a little further right, like a couple boards right. And I think they watched what Sun Prairie was doing, having a little bit more success. They were able to see friction, speaking of Sun Prairie, and now Sheboygan is starting to see friction. They're seeing their ball shape just a little bit. And sometimes you just need to see your ball hook to feel confident.
Ava Rodefeld steps up for SPMC in the anchor position. Rodefeld calls it back, gets the strike. And that now sets up Juliana Bergman, the girls individual state champion, for what I think is the most important shot in this entire match. If Sheboygan can string some strikes together, they'll have a chance. If they can't here, it's going to be an uphill battle. Bergman already won a state title today, and she leaves 3 pins. Came up very light.
Yeah, that one looked to be a little end over end. She might have just kind of missed it at the bottom, didn't catch it the way we have been used to seeing her at the bottom of the swing at the release point. But even more so, the spare is of utter importance here. Hold on.
And Juliana with an open frame in the 5th. It's back-to-back open frames for the girls' individual state champion, Juliana Bergman.
And you can tell she's a little frustrated with herself. She came back and was mouthing to herself, why am I missing those? And, you know, she knows she's done this, you know, 1,000 times. She knows what the target is. And sometimes in the moment, sometimes, you know, we miss a little left, a little right, but not over yet.
Working off the strike. Maggie Porter came up high on the head pin. 8 count, no split. Makeable spare, and as long as Sun Prairie can mark here in the final 5 frames, unless Sheboygan puts together a run of strikes through the finish, Sun Prairie is going to be in good shape.
this is, I mean, they need just 5 solid shots back half. It's got a hook.
Abby Schleicher couldn't find it. 1, 2, 4, 10.
Oh, and just never really got into a roll. It was just kind of spinning a little bit through the front part of the lane. And that's kind of where Sheboygan hasn't seen the hook that they need to see, that mid-lane area.
Porter lefty going for the spare on the left-hand side. Only got one. So now Sheboygan really needs this washout conversion.
And Sun Prairie's giving them some opportunities here. I mean, it's, again, just close enough, but you know, when you can't double, Sun Prairie's still plenty in the driver's seat because Sheboygan has yet to double, but this washout, huge if she can make it.
Abby Schleicher, the freshman.
Bounce.
Coming across the lane. Almost got the messenger to come across, but no. She gets 3. So it's 83 in the 6th for Sheboygan, 93 for Sun Prairie in the 6th. That's a 60-pin advantage in the 2-game total with 4 frames to play.
Yep, and at this point, we're in the 7th frame. You know, Sun Prairie would need to give Sheboygan a lot of help.
If they can keep the ball basically on the lane, they'll be in pretty good shape. Vang walked the tightrope on the right-hand side, but it came back at the end and got 9.
That's a really good 9 right there, because that did not look like it was going to get 9 from the start.
Shuren, all 10. Sheboygan won't go without a fight.
Now the max score for Sheboygan is 203. You give
a couple of opens for Sun Prairie would give them a chance.
Yeah, give Sun Prairie, if you give them the spare, that's also 203.
Let's see what Vang does here. Yeah, Sheboygan needs to strike out and needs help. Vang won't give it to him. 3 out of 4 marks for Vang in the 2 games. In that 7th position. Significant role in helping lead SPMC to what may be a state championship.
For Sheboygan, it's as simple as got to strike out to have any chance, and certainly hope then that Sun Prairie will open the rest of the way. I do like what Sheboygan is doing, right? They haven't really gotten outside of themselves. They're having fun, keeping themselves loose, and you can tell that's probably what they do all the time.
Taylor Baker with a strike in the 8th. SPMC. Couple of balls away from a state championship.
That's important, though, for, you know, if you're watching this, even as a parent, but certainly if you're a player, notice how Sheboygan, again, just didn't really allow anything else to affect them. They were being loose. And that's probably what they do throughout the season to keep themselves loose in the moment, in the match. You see a lot of that at the collegiate level as well. No matter what a team may be doing against the opponent never really gets out of that process that they are good at.
Leah Bruce hit the strike for Sheboygan in the 8th frame. That was a fantastic shot. Now, Libby Porter in the 9th for SPMC. That's a strike. And that should just about do it. The SPMC fans know it.
Absolutely. With a 50-pin cushion, both scores right now max at 203. Sun Prairie's got the advantage.
Jolene Bruce just hit the 3rd straight strike for Sheboygan. It would take an absolute disaster of a 10th frame for Sheboygan to have any chance. But if this ball basically stays on the lane.
Well, let's just say, right, so let's just say they went 9 out. That would be 170 for Sun Prairie, and they don't have enough mathematically, speaking of Sheboygan.
Ava Rodefeld for a state title for SPMC.
Oh, that's plenty.
That will do it. No matter the result of this throw, SPMC's got it. And you can see the Sheboygan team acknowledging the situation here in the 10th frame. Rodefeld stepping up to try and convert the spare. Ava Rodefeld across the lane. Gets all three. That's a mark, and that's good enough. The last time the state championships were played here at Dales Weston Lanes in 2020, SPMC won it. And now they're going to do it again. Juliana Bergman leaves a split.
I like what Coach Bill just did there, and then, he wasn't intentionally being waiting or slow, but I think he was really working with Juliana there to try to get lined up right. You never want to pass up an opportunity to learn something, and so she had another frame and say, hey, let's try this or that, just to see what might have been different. So the next time she's in this situation or sees a pattern similar, she'll know what to do.
The individual state champion, Juliana Bergman, wraps it up. Final shot coming now for SPMC. Total 294 for Sheboygan.
Boy, just happy and sad here.
And a substitution to get one throw in a state championship. 173, the game 2 score for SPMC. Total of 349. And once again, SPMC runs it back.
Sophia Cesario getting an opportunity to be a part of the state championship right there. Getting that fill shot. You see the sportsmanship, coaches and players right in the middle of your screen.
Sun Prairie, a team that does not graduate a single senior. They'll be back.
And they have talent, 4 days, and their two-handed players are only going to get better.
Incredible drama once again at the Wisconsin High School Bowling State Championships. Sheboygan and Sun Prairie in the Division I team finals. SPMC wins it. We'll step aside for a moment and be ready for our trophy presentation here in just a few moments on BowlStreamTV. Yeah. I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah, I've been doing this since 2015 was the first time that I did it. So this is my 9th year. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Get a look at both teams there. Of course, the thrill of defeat.
The program did say 130 for the next one.
Or the thrill of victory, excuse me, the agony of defeat.
Oh, no. New one. I see how they do it now. So we're slightly ahead of schedule.
So the lanes are being re-oiled for the boys championships. Division II will again be on 8 and 9. Division I on 6 and 7. And the trophy presentation for the girls will conclude or follow the boys' final, I believe. And so just a few minutes remain. And so, as Jesse said, we'll step aside momentarily. Good opportunity for you to take a break at home. If you haven't already, please subscribe to BowlStreamTV. Hit the thumbs up, and you're a great job of the best of supporting these youth bowlers, certainly in the great state of Wisconsin. Big thanks to the BCAW, Dales Weston Lanes, all of our sponsors, of course, Storm, Bob's Business, the Wisconsin High School Bowling Club, H5G, Pepsi, and others. Boys competition next.
Anybody want to bowl for Marinette or Nancy? I will.
Not doing trophies until after. That's new. So, oh well. I'm gonna run to the bathroom. I don't know if you wanna take us to the break.
the old machine off. We'll be ready for introduction. It's just Division 2 right now.
Okay. Yep, I gotcha. I might wait like a minute. Make sure Emil's back here and good to go. He said once the Oilers out of the way, we can introduce the teams. So. Oh, here, I got it. Yep. What time is it? Oh, we're actually a little bit behind. We're actually a little bit behind on this. All right. Antigo and Marinette. Antigo and Marinette. Good? You good? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Championship Sunday at Dale's Weston Lanes and the boys co-ed team state championships. From ESPN Wisconsin, my name is Jesse Nelson. I'm with Emil Williams Jr. Today's championship matches are broadcast live on BowlStreamTV.com. So tell your friends, tell everybody that wants to watch today that you can watch on BowlStreamTV.com. Also available on demand following the championships. We'll begin with the Division 2 Boys Co-ed Team State Championship, followed by Division 1. So let's begin by introducing our Division 2 competing teams. The number 2 seed, the Marinette Marines. And the number 1 seed, Antigo Red Robins. Go Marinette! 2-game total pin count is the format. Good luck and good bowling to our Division 2 team finalists. Woo! We welcome you back in on BowlStreamTV.com. For those of you who have been with us throughout the course of the day, for those of you just joining, welcome to the Wisconsin High School Bowling State Championships. Final round of team competition here in the championship finals. Boys Co-Ed Division II right now, featuring Marinette and Antigo, followed by Division I between Watertown and Oak Creek. Jesse Nelson, Emil Williams Jr. with you here on BowlStream TV. We welcome you into the High School Bowling State Championships, the 25th annual competition here at Dale's Weston Lanes in Wausau, Wisconsin. Two teams that we are used to seeing have success at the state tournament once again in action here in the Division II Team State Championship. For the 2-seed Marinette Marines, they will have finished 4th or better in each of the last 3 state tournaments. In 2021 in Ashwaubenon, they took 4th. In 2022, last year in Appleton, they were the runners-up. Where will they finish this year, 2nd or 1st? The Antigo Red Robins has finished in the top 5 in each of the last 3 seasons. 2021 in Ashwaubenon, they took 5th. 2022 in Appleton, 3rd. How will they fare today? One of these two teams is going to win a state title. And Emil, when we talk about these two teams and that success proven year over year, it always feels like it matters a little bit more when you've been there at the door but haven't quite been able to get across the finish line to bring home the big trophy.
And you know it means just that much more, right? Just because of all those things you just named. It's a situation where you want to win, but you try not to also think about it too much, right? You don't want that to be the driving force, because then that can take you out of your game and you get to thinking about things that you shouldn't be thinking about, instead of, focusing in on what the process is to throw the best shots that you can. So that's the situation at hand. But a state championship is a state championship. And, at the end of the day, it's hard not to think about what winning certainly would mean. Absolutely.
Let's introduce you to these two teams. First, for the Marinette Marines, they are in the purple uniforms on the left side of the screen as you see the warm-ups here on BowlStreamTV.com. Marinette warming up on lane 8, while Antigo in the darker red uniforms warming up on the right. Of course, they switch as soon as I say that, so that's nice of them. Marinette 10-2 overall in the season, 2nd place in District 8 in the greater Green Bay area. The only team that finished ahead of them in the standings was Bayport, who went a perfect 12-0. Marinette is a team that likes to strike 51% of the time they strike, 81% of the time they fill. Team average on the year, 199. They were 9 pins below that in the qualifying on Friday, a 190 average through the 15 games of qualifying, but that was good enough to earn them the number 2 seed in the stepladder semifinals last night, where they defeated the 4-seed Oostburg Shorewood Lutheran 427-325 in the semifinal match that they competed in to advance to today's championship match. Meanwhile, the Antigo Red Robins, a team that consistently finds itself at state for both the boys and girls squads, 8-2, tied with Iola Scandinavia for the best record in District 9 of the Division II teams in that district. Also a team that likes to strike 55% of the time, 84% of the time they fill. Tied with Stevens Point for the best fill percentage in the district. Their team average on the regular season, 204. And their qualifying average was a 190, just a couple of percentage points better than Marinette to eke them out. Talk about the total pinfall. 5 pins, the difference between the 1 seed and the 2 seed playing in this championship match here today. The qualifying total for Antigo was 2,853. For Marinette, it was 2,848.
Wow.
5 pins separating number 1 and number 2. Heavyweights going at it here in the Division II championship.
And when you have those numbers and the data that you just laid out, right? So based on that, the 2 teams who should be here are here, based on the total pinfall, of course. And it could have went a lot of different ways, certainly last night, because of the step ladder and the really cool format. You almost get 2 step ladders in one event, which is very rare.
Yeah.
In that sense. So, but man, this one's like a too close to call, right? This one is like, we watch the first 5 frames and really get a feel for what each team wants to do, especially with this condition. This lane pattern has been iffy. 39 feet. You saw the lanes being re-oiled, so players are bowling on the fresh right now. There's going to be a little bit more rev rate. Where is the rev rate going to come for each of these teams, right? Can they control it to the best of their abilities and obviously make spares? Because at the end of the day, in Baker format and bowling in general, but Baker, you got to fill frames.
I believe this is going to be the tightest of our championship matches today, just based on the track record of these two teams. And there's a little bit of history. Last year's semifinals, Marinette defeated Antigo in the semifinals a year ago as they went on to finish in second place in last year's championship. So these teams have seen each other on this stage before, just not in the actual championship match. So excited to see Antigo and Marinette square off in the Division II Boys Co-Ed Team State Championship, the second to last, or my favorite word of the day that I've been using, the penultimate championship of the day, because we do have one more coming up after this in Division I. The number 1 seed Oak Creek Knights will try and win another state title as they take on the number 3 seed Watertown Goslings. Watertown, who won in a roll-off in their semifinals last night. We'll talk plenty more about them as we get closer to that Division I competition taking place about 30 minutes from right now. But until then, here we are, Division II, Antigo and Marinette. About 1 minute left of warm-ups. The teams will do their cheers, and the crowd here at Dales Weston Lanes continues to be as crowded as it has been all day. Fantastic atmosphere since 8:30 a.m. when we started the singles competition. And sometimes, people are waking up at 8:30 and that singles competition kind of eases its way in. It didn't feel like that today. There was a fantastic atmosphere, a great crowd cheering it on. Helped that there was some drama in the first of the singles matches for the boys, which went to a 9th and 10th frame roll-off. That always goes to a certain extent in adding the drama a little bit early, getting the juice flowing. But it's been an awesome atmosphere all weekend long, especially today for the state championships. What you can't see on BowlStreamTV, at least right now until Emil shakes the camera a little bit, you see bleachers set up on the left and the right, and behind us, it's just wall-to-wall people. Here he's gonna show everybody a little bit of what's going on. It's just an incredible atmosphere here for state bowling. And yeah, you can see this panning around to everybody. Look at this at Dales Weston Lanes. Thanks to everybody who's stopping by. Look at that. They're like 10, 11 rows deep going all the way back by the concession stand back there. Just an incredible atmosphere. Let's not show the people that are standing on the stools. That's probably a fire marshal might want to have a word with them. But it's fantastic. Fantastic atmosphere for state bowling today at Dales Weston Lanes in Wausau. The Division II Boys Co-Ed Team Final about to get underway. We'll get out of the way here as the teams will do their respective huddles and cheers, amping up the energy.
One note to you talked about this already, but I think the experience from for Jack, who participated in the singles competition
Jack
earlier
Steger
today,
of Antigo, yeah.
Jack Steger, who went to a roll-off himself in his opening match. To have that experience already today, and so if some adversity does hit the team, he can help guide them, get them out of some situations. That type of experience is invaluable, and now you can bring it and share it with the squad, which might result in a state championship.
There have been a couple of different bowlers today who competed in the individual competition this morning and then have tried to help lead their teams to state championships. Juliana Bergman of Sheboygan won earlier, and now here we see again Jack Steger, who competed earlier in the boys' competition individually, now as a team, trying to help lead Antigo to a title. Opening roll, we are underway in the Division II Boys Co-Ed Team Final. And the first ball is a strike for Antigo. Alec Napkovich. Marinette First ball of the championship match. A 9 count. It's a pretty good shot, I thought. Landon Reek, who took the opening role there for Marinette. One interesting note, Emil, both of these teams competed in the qualifying round of the 15 games leading up to this on Friday afternoon. So these two teams didn't do the bulk of their bowling yesterday. And while it is true that Marinette had the one semifinal last night, these two teams may be a little more well-rested compared to some of the others that we'll see throughout the course of the day.
That helps too. I mean, every little bit of sleep counts, especially, that's the benefit, obviously, of being the top seed as well.
A little bit of sleep, rest the thumb and the fingers, it's anything you can get to your advantage. Riley Gunther for Antigo on the number 2 position with a solid 9 count. Leaves a 6-pin on the right-hand side. Now Michael Phillips, the junior for Marinette, in the number 2 position. A lot of pin action.
Wow.
He got 1 to fall, not the second, so it's a 9 count for Phillips. 85% fill rate on the year for Michael Phillips.
Well, that's not good on lane 9. That happened earlier, but he'll just need a 5-pin to be reset. That's got a hook.
And, that's the second time today, Emil. We saw it once in the girls' team competition where the spill on lane 9 was followed by an open frame on what seemed like a makeable spare on the lane next to it. You wonder, we talked about it earlier, the mentals come into play there, and you want to just take the step back and wait for it to be cleaned up because it's just out of the peripheral, even though, on this stage, everything's exponentially significant. You see that out of your peripheral, you might think, okay, I'm just going to wait for it to get cleaned up before I go about my normal routine.
There you see a little bit of the wide angle shot, both teams and where they're situated. I appreciate them. Of course, the boys team's a little bit taller, and so they kind of, I asked them to kind of angle out just a little bit from a camera perspective so the viewers can get a good view of the pins. So thanks to both coaches there. We see them wide angle here, but on what happened with 9, you'd be surprised how many superstitious folks are in bowling. And so,
No, I wouldn't.
if someone, let's say there was a 7-10 up on 9, right, and you're about to bowl on 7, there'd be a ton of people who just wouldn't bowl.
Yep.
They would wait for that to be done.
Yep.
Before they go throw a shot.
It's like golf, bowling, and baseball. You get the most superstitious collection of people. These are 3 sports I've been around a fair amount in my time. All right, after the delay, Phillips is trying to hit that 5-pin right in the middle of the lane, and he does it. So after all that, marks and back-to-back frames for Marinette to take an early lead. Off the open, here comes Antigo in frame number 3. First shot for sophomore Luke Bassel, and he knocks down all 10, and that was a powerful strike. It's one of the best balls we've seen.
Great shot.
52% striker on the year, Luke Bassel. Ethan Shane of Marinette. On lane 9, calls it back in, and he gets the big comeback.
And boy, did it hook.
First strike of the championship match for the Marines.
You can already tell, obviously, it's going to be a little bit higher scoring match. Talked about rev rate and the ability of the boys to be able to maybe produce some higher scores, but even I didn't think that was about to make the turn.
There's another strike for Antigo in the 4th frame. I was a little distracted by Ethan Shane, who made his strike and ran out of the building. Meanwhile, here's now Zadursky. Aiden Zadursky, the senior, on the approach for Marinette in the 4th position. Zadursky, the lefty. Good shot, left the 7-pin. So between Shane Zadursky and Parker Thill, the junior, Marinette in good hands here in their 3, 4, 5 positions. Zadursky looking for the single pin spare. Got it. Marinette clean through 4. But back-to-back strikes for Antigo as Jack Stager steps up. Stager missed the head pin, went way too far right.
It's actually something we did not see him do a lot of earlier in the singles. Again, the pattern was longer, but he was very good at keeping the ball on target this morning. That one just got it right early, and it could be one of those, those first shot jitters that you just got to get out with a tough washout.
Threw that one 17.3 miles per hour. Anigo, anchor bowler, strike, Parker Thill. What can Stager do with this mess? He almost got it. Got 3 of the 4 pins, but an open 5th. So that's an 82 spot for Anigo at the midway point of game 1. 2-game total pin count. Stager finished 4th in the individual competition on the boys' side earlier today, including winning a 9th and 10th frame roll-off in the opening match of the stepladder final. But it is a different oil pattern now than it was earlier today for the individual competition.
39 feet now instead of 44. Mill's about the same. The shape is different as well.
Napkovich knocks down all 10. Had a good shot to start. 2 strikes for Allen.
There is a look at the lane condition. Right as Mr. Reek is ready, in the 6th frame.
Landon Reek converted a spare in his first attempt. Not the cleanest release, but he's still able to get 9 pins. And a very makeable 3-pin available for them on lane 9. Reek 30% of his spares converted this year, 80% fill percentage for the junior. Lobbed it out there and pushed it right, hits the gutter. Open frame Marinette, first of the game in the 6th. And Antigo is not a team that you can give an opening like that. You feel the momentum swing from one end of this building to the other now.
Oh, yeah. Watch, here's a look at the squad, right? And then we'll watch the shot here from this angle for a little bit. Could go crazy. Get wild here.
Crowd goes silent as Gunther steps up and delivers a strike. Silent no more. We talk about the fun fan bases that we run into consistently at these state tournaments. The Sun Prairie squad, Oak Creek will be here shortly for the D1 championship. McGuanago always makes noise. Amherst is great. Antigo's right up there with the best of the best. They bring everybody out to these championships.
It's great to see the travel parties. Everyone's in the team colors. They've got their own T-shirts made. They hang out, stay in the same, of course, hotels and such. And, man, they're just making an experience. And you can only hope that the team gets to Sunday. And when they do, obviously, then, all bets are off, and you just have the best time that you can have.
Difficult spare opportunity here for Phillips, and he just picks up the 1. He's trying to go for it. I don't blame him. But that's back-to-back open frames now for Marinette, while Antigo has a double in the 6th and 7th.
So Schoen just waiting Looking at his opponent there, Luke Bassel stepping up.
He strikes 52% of the time. He struck in the third and leaves himself a difficult opportunity here in the eighth.
He did not stick the landing, and that hop may have just been enough to allow him to lose his leverage and to pitch it just enough wide right to leave it 2-4-8-10. Makeable, but this is one of those situations we were talking about, Jesse, earlier about, going to run for 4-9 in the girls' match with Sheboygan in the Division I versus Sun Prairie. This is one where you just got to get count.
Ethan Shane comes up high on the head pin, but he got a fortuitous deconstruction of a couple of pins on the backside. He only leaves 2 and a makeable spare.
Nice strategy here. Lefty coming in.
Johnny Lewis into attempt, and he almost got it. Good look for Johnny Lewis, but always difficult when you're coming in cold as a substitution to just shoot 1 spare. And it's never an easy shot when you're going to a substitution like that.
Yeah, and I talked about count, and but in a 2-game sprint like this, the opportunity when you have a lefty at your disposal in that situation, or if the roles were reversed, if it was a lefty who had left the opposite and the righty was available, that was a good opportunity to take a chance and try to make that split right there.
Shane picked up the spare, and now because he was able to get the good, generous pinfall on that first ball, he picks that up, and now Marinette has a chance to take the lead in the final 2 frames. Anago has something to say about it, though.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Jesse, but like most athletic associations or things that determine divisions, populations, it's based on enrollment numbers?
Correct, yes. So Division II in Wisconsin high school bowling are the lower enrollment schools, and Division I, the higher enrollment. So you see especially District 1 in the Milwaukee area features a lot of the highest enrollment schools, and typically that's where we see some of our Division I finalists come from, just like Oak Creek a little bit later today. Zadursky, single pin spare, got it. That's a big shot for Aiden Zadursky and Marinette.
Yeah, you look at this score, right, and you go, and you go like, all right, we probably, that's why you go for it in the 8th frame, because it's so close. Any advantage is a good one at this point.
Stagger, the anchor bowler makes the adjustment, and that is why he was one of the top 5 finalists for the boys individual tournament earlier today. He made the adjustment, and those pins collapsed.
Great shot. Immediately rebounds from this 5th frame.
Parker Thill, 57% striker on the season, comes a little light.
He'll
Still a
take that.
solid 9 count.
He'll take that 2-pin.
But again, watch out for this spare with this oil pattern. We've said it all day. This is not easy for these bowlers to come across the lane and get those spares. It's just not what they're used to.
A strike here would be clutch. That'll put him in the 190s.
Stagger light, left the same thing. We'll see if Phil can make his, and then if Stagger can convert for 1 more pin.
Well, buddy, you called it. You said you expect this one to be the closest match of the day so far, and it's definitely living up to that billing.
Let's see if Parker can get this spare. He does. Good bowler like Parker Phil. Shouldn't have to worry about him converting on that. 91% fill percentage on the year. Leads the team in strike percentage, spare percentage, and fill percentage. Parker Phil. Stagger hits his one. 183 for Antigo at the turn. Max 173 if Phil can hit this. And it was light, so that's a 171 12 pins isn't a whole lot, though, when you get to a 2-game total pin count format.
Now, we'll throw this out there now, since we've been talking about it. 12 pins. It's way different than like 30 or 40 pins, even 29 like we talked about earlier. So when we get down to making count on splits, perhaps this game, you know, you really got to weigh the risk-reward factor in that sense. But spares are going to really be important because, you know, 12 pins is essentially one spare.
Two teams that met in the semifinals in Division II last year, battling for the Division II Boys Team State Championship. 12-pin lead for Antigo as they make the switch. Each team huddling up, getting the messaging from their coaches, talking to one another. Final 10 frames of the season.
Now, when you put it in that light, oof, really gets, it just kind of went through me right there, man. I'm not going to lie. You know, and I've been there, you've been there, obviously, whether it's high school, college, whatever it is, when the season is about to end and you've got a chance to be the last one standing, it's a different feel, it's a different opportunity, and you certainly, you know, don't want to be the team that comes up just short. It's going to happen, the emotions of it. Who will it be? We'll find out.
2 years ago, Antigo was 5th, Marinette was 4th. Last year, Antigo was 3rd, Marinette was 2nd. And to start game number 2 of the championship match, a baby split on the right-hand side for Marinette. Marines trail by 12. There are the Antigo fans.
They've got the Antigo chant. Let's go, Antigo. And listen, Alex has been really good, right? His first 2 shots of this match. Excellent. What a spare that was. That's a huge 310 to open up game number 2.
Big spare for Marinette. First shot of game 2.
Oh,
the Red
my
Robins.
gosh.
And how about that messenger? And how about that celebration?
Whoa.
Alec Napkovich.
Oh, he sent it. You talk about sending pins.
Michael Phillips back up for Marinette. Inside line, just couldn't take out that 10.
6-pin wanted to fall backwards into the 10-pin, and it did not. It's kind of nestled up with a blanket in the gutter. It's going to take a nap and be swept away.
Riley Gunther. First shot for game number 2 comes up high on the head pin and leaves a tricky split. Makeable, but tricky. Phillips needs the spare. He's got it. I always love when you turn around before you have to see it through to the end, and Michael Phillips just did that. He knew it. I did have one time I did that and ended up missing, and everyone thought I looked like a doofus. So if you're going to do it, you got to know that you got it. You can't be one of those.
Well, do you remember what
75-25. It was a 10-pin.
It was 10-pin.
Oh, yeah.
The worst is like turning your back and you chop the spare. Like if it was like, let's say it was a 6-10 and you take the 6 off the 10 or vice versa.
All right, so a substitution occurring here for Antigo. It's Brady Rickard who's going to step in and try and make this split.
Now this is righty for righty, so not the righty-lefty scenario or lefty-righty here.
Rickard.
He's got a chance.
Throws. Not quite. Only gets the 2. And just like that, there goes the 12-point lead. I said point. I said I wouldn't do that today.
That's okay. We know you just did some hoops last night.
A lot of hoops. A lot of hoops the last few days.
I'm happy you were still able to do some hoops. My local college teams did not advance to the conference tournament.
Oh. Sorry to hear that for you. Ethan Shane. 9. Marinette's been consistently, they're just not striking so far here out of the gates on lane 8. And it's tough when you're making that adjustment. You're listening to your teammates, what they're saying about the lane, trying to figure it out through others.
There's a lot of communication. A lot of communication that has to happen.
Luke Bassel on 9.
Wow.
Late surge to the pocket there and left the 8-pin.
Well, blower 8-pin. That's 2, I thought, really good shots. Even the split in frame 2 for Antigo looked like a good shot. Maybe it's just something you make a move on. But, you know, Brady will now bowl the 7th frame, so keep that in mind for Antigo as he came in to shoot the split.
Shane for the single pin spare. When he turned around before he hit it, you know that means he's got it.
Spares, it's going to come down to filling frames with, again, the 12-point differential entering game number 2.
Can't afford to miss your single pin spares. In a match like this, Bassel coming across. He did.
Oh, boy.
That's a break for Marinette, who's clean through 3. Back-to-back opens for Antigo in the 2nd and 3rd. Red Robins had a 12-pin lead entering game 2 of this 2-game total pin count championship match. Zadursky. How did it not go down? Wow.
And Marinette motioning to their fans to their left. Like, hey, you're too early. Relax.
Well, that's one of the tough things with the way that these bleachers are set up. You can't necessarily see that 7-pin when you're all the way sitting on lane 1. The way these bleachers
From
are
their
set
angle,
up,
that 7-pin
look perfect.
look down.
That was perfect for Antigo and a bounce back frame by Grant Praslovich. Zadursky.
Uh-oh.
Oh, it hung on. You were worried.
I thought it was going to hook ever so slightly at the end of the path. But listen, look what Marinette's doing, right, Jesse? And what did I say when we came into this? With a 12-pin difference, you got to make spares in this game, no matter what. And Marinette right now has done that to the best of their abilities, and they have the lead.
They have a lead with their trusty anchor bowler, Parker Thill, stepping up in the 5th frame. Came up high on the head pin, but he gets a good break out of it for a makeable spare on the left-hand side. We'll see if Marinette can stay clean.
Well, if Jack strikes here, and Antigo will be ready to go, and certainly their fans will be.
Stagger, does he have the line? No. Came up very light. Now this is not an easy spare for Thill.
No, he got that one right again.
He's trying to come across that oil pattern. He does so successfully. 5 marks, all spares through 5 frames for Marinette.
Essentially, Jesse, so there is an out of bounds, basically, right? And that out of bounds you got to think is good count, by the way. That was very important. You need a count there. But the out of bounds theoretically is like 8, right? If your ball is going right past board 8 down lane, you can leave those type of leaves. And so that's where not just them, but everybody, both teams have got to be paying attention to that.
Landon Reek, 50% striker on the year. Looking for a big one for Marinette, but he comes up high on the head pin.
Tough spare, too.
And that's there's one behind those 3 also. That's a 4 count remaining.
3, 6, 9, 10. No one loves to shoot those. Alex has been excellent in the leadoff position. He's 3 for 3. Can he make it 4 for 4? Team needs him.
Out of the open frame, he put it inside. Couldn't hang on to go Brooklyn. It went way left. And it's a 6 count for Antigo. Both teams with 6 counts on the first ball here in frame number 6.
Oh.
Spare converted the hard way.
Wow. The late tap.
And that's the kind of break you need to win a championship in a match like this, where it's a grinded out war of attrition.
Man, you couldn't have said it any better. And I think the shot from Alex, I think he just really wanted that one a little too much, right? Sometimes you want to strike so bad, you feel like you can taste it, and you kind of grab it a little bit.
Alec Napkovich just needed to put it in the pocket, and he did. Both bowlers convert spares off the 6 count in the 6th frame. Tight championship match in Division II. Antigo led by 12 at the turn.
Still have yet to strike, Jesse, and hold the lead.
Michael Phillips kept it right there, and the first strike for Marinette in Game 2 goes to Phillips. Strike for Antigo.
Something out of nowhere.
Big 7th frame shot, and again, that was the substitution that Antigo made earlier in the match. Brady Rickert came in and delivered the big shot.
Who's going to go first?
Yeah, it's going to be Ethan Shane in the 8th. Marinette and Antigo in a tight one.
Oh,
Shane
my goodness.
Messenger comes all the way across, and oh, look at him.
Unbelievable. We have seen some pins fly here in this match by both teams. A big messenger by Alex earlier, and now Ethan delivers. They definitely delivering messengers on Sunday here in Dale's Weston Lanes.
Quite the intensity in the 8th frame. Bassel feeds it home. Both teams strike in the 7th and 8th. Marinette slightly out in front, but it is close. Aiden Zadursky looking for 3 in a row. Nearly got it.
Huge break there. So now we're getting down to it here.
And now Antigo with a chance to string 3 in a row heading into the 10th for Steger.
They've got max score 203.
Grant Praslovich has the opportunity. High on the head pin, 7 count.
The spare 3-6-10. Dursky just got to take his time, go through his process, take care of this 9 pin.
So now everybody's trying to do the math here in the center. So Dursky, calm and confident. Max 210 for Marinette. Remember, they trailed by 12 entering Game 2. You can see the totals, which are accurate on the end of each score box. Open frame in the 9th. And now Parker Phil can win it. To win it for the Marines.
Oh, no.
Nope. Pushed it left.
This is interesting here. So what that does.
Now Jack Steger needs a big shot here.
Yeah, if you go spare strike here, that's 368 for Marinette. 185 would be necessary.
Steger, does he have the clutch gene? He did, but he left the ringing 10. Oh, devastating. Devastating shot. Antigo starting to realize the math is in their favor as Phil hits the spare. Max 197 for Marinette. But max 158 for Antigo. It's over.
Yeah, it's mathematically Now, the way the ball left his hand, had we got less than 7, it could have been a little bit tricky. But the ultimately, what the difference, the 9th frame open for Antigo.
That's ultimately what did it. 1 for good measure for the Marines. $197 for a 368 total.
Well, I tell you, Jack Sagers bowled well all day long. He's going to finish in the run-up position twice in state championship opportunities, but round of applause certainly for Antigo. But Marinette, man, look at the game, Jesse.
Spares.
That's what it comes down to in this format, in the very basic elements of bowling.
They only threw 3 strikes in the entire second game, but it was enough.
That's how you win.
The Marinette Marines defeat Antigo to win the Division II Boys Co-Ed State Championship. What a match. And Marinette celebrates with their fan section here at Dale's Weston Lanes.
Oak Creek from Marinette down to 5 to 8. Oak Creek from Marinette down to 5 to 8, please. So excited, Marinette won. It's actually Watertown and Oak Creek. Come on down.
It's been a long weekend for Roger Dawkins.
Congratulations, Marinette. Anybody from Oak Creek?
All right, so the Division II championship is in the books. The award presentation will follow the conclusion of the Division I Boys Co-Ed Team Championship. That's coming up in just a few moments between Watertown and Oak Creek, the final championship on Championship Sunday, easy for me to say, at Dale's Weston Lanes at the 25th Annual Wisconsin High School Bowling State Championships. Don't go anywhere. We'll introduce the teams here momentarily for the fans in attendance, and then we'll get right back to you on BowlStreamTV for Watertown and Oak Creek in the final championship of the day, the Division I Boys Co-Ed Team Championship. Congratulations to Marinette defeating Antigo to win the Division II Boys Co-Ed State Championship.
Ladies and gentlemen, one more champion to be crowned on Championship Sunday. At Dale's Weston Lanes, it's the Boys Co-Ed Division I Team State Championships. Competing in today's championship match, the number 3 seed, Watertown. And the number 1 seed, Oak Creek. Good luck and good bowling to both teams. Practice will begin in just a moment.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. I've frequented both. I've frequented both over my years.
Well, there's bowling centers in both ends.
Kilps.
sends her regards. Said it sounds great. Said Duke was fantastic.
Yeah, he was amazing.
Good view from up here.
Oh yeah, we love it up here. Yeah, it's fantastic.
All I needed to do is figure out how to get him to bowl a little faster.
Well, I think that roll off in the first.
Yeah, but gotta be. I said.
It took an extra 10 minutes.
I said the Green Bay Packers can get a play in to a football team, organize 11 guys in the field, go through the count, look over the defense, and get a snap off in 40 seconds. You should be able to throw a bowling ball in 40 seconds. And 40 seconds is a long time. And I'm watching like great, outstanding ball.
Baseball's got a pitch clock.
I know. Basketball's got a shot clock.
Yeah.
NFL's got a clock. All right, let me get him.
Getting set for the Division I Boys Co-Ed Team Championship here at Dales Weston Lanes in Wausau. Jesse Nelson, Emil Williams Jr. with you on BowlStreamTV for Oak Creek and Watertown squaring off in the Division I Boys Team State Championship. Oak Creek, no stranger to competing in the state championships here at Dales Weston Lanes or really anywhere in the state of Wisconsin. They finished 5th at state in 2021 and in 2020 in the last tournament played here at Dales Weston Lanes. Last winning the state championship, Oak Creek did so in 2017. Meanwhile, Watertown, they're a team that was a little bit of an underdog, I think, heading into this competition here tonight. With a season record of 12-2, they were the best in District 6, 53% strikers on the year. They averaged a 187 in qualifying compared to the 190 for Oak Creek. Watertown has gotten hot at the right time, and they've got some outstanding bowlers and a team that has been on the cusp, Emil, of getting to this stage and competing at this level, and they won one of the most thrilling semifinal matches you'll ever see last night against DC Everest. DC Everest, a local team right here in Wausau, came down to the wire and then some, because it went to the 9th and 10th frame roll-off, which I had never seen before in a semifinal 2-game total pin count at the state championship level. Watertown wins it 50-49, striking on all 4 of their final shots in that semifinal against DC Everest. DC Everest not too shabby, putting up 49 for your 9th and 10th frame roll-off, but Watertown was able to get it done, and they win their way here into the championship match on Championship Sunday.
You know, that's the kind of a finish that will propel or could propel a team right to a championship. And, you know, you don't wake up expecting to be in a roll-off, but, you know, when it's presented to you, you got to step up and perform, and they did that, which helped propel them, obviously, to this point as well. So, you know, you've got to be on the lookout for them just because of that alone. And they're not even talking about the talent that they possess, right? But, you know, a roll-off, and I told you this earlier, sometimes when you see a roll-off in a tournament, you know there's going to be another one somewhere along the way in the same event. They kind of come in bunches. Would it be fitting to have another one to decide the state title, including them? Certainly, possibly. Will it happen? We're not sure, because when I watched Oak Creek yesterday and when they heard their team name called as the #1 seed like any other squad, a jubilation, jumping with joy, parents, coaches, players, etc. They were actually kind of right near 13 and 14, and I was waiting for things to kind of clear out to begin setup. So I know they're prepared, ready to go. The final state championship of the year, the final one of the day, certainly. And if this match is anything like what we just saw, we know we're going to be in for another special treat.
The champions have been crowned, save for one. The Division I Boys Co-Ed Team State Championship, Oak Creek and Watertown. About 2 minutes left in practice for both teams before we get set in the best of 2. 2-game total pin count championship match. Been a thrilling day of bowling here at Dales Weston Lanes. The 25th annual Wisconsin High School Bowling Club State Championships. Been another outstanding year for Weston Lanes hosting this event. It's just been a remarkable weekend, and this is the point where obviously these bowlers are all playing for the championship, but you get to this Sunday early afternoon window of time and you're like, okay, I've done my singles competition bowling. Some of these bowlers qualified then for the semifinals of that. You bowled your 15 games of qualifying. Both these teams did that yesterday. Watertown was in the early session, Squad B on Saturday morning. Oak Creek was on the Saturday afternoon session of Squad C. So you go through that. You got the night at the hotel with the team. Watertown in the thrilling semifinal last night. Oak Creek waiting for this moment, but it does start to be a little bit of a mental wear. And so which team is able to overcome any obstacles in place here in these two games? And these lanes have not been easy this weekend. You see scores are down from what teams average typically for the course of the year. Very few teams playing above their standard. Going to be difficult, going to be fun, most likely going to be some drama involved if we know anything about the Division I Boys Team State Championship.
And that's exactly what you'd want, right? When you get down to it, you want your championships to be decided by some things that should present some challenges, that should present some adversity. And these two teams are going to try to do their best to navigate those challenges and see which one will come out on top here in this fast, again, 2-game sprint. But the one thing that always remains constant, Jesse, we just saw a great example of it in our Division II boys match. The spares what separates you, in many cases. If you can fill the frames in Baker competition, your chances of winning are exponentially higher. We saw that with Marinette at the end.
If I may make a college basketball analogy, I'm good for one of these a year when we do these.
I throw in baseball all the time.
So if we want to compare historically speaking where each of these teams are at in the scope of Wisconsin high school bowling, I would say Oak Creek is like Duke. Like, they're always there. They're always one of the top seeds. They've always got a chance to win it no matter what year it is. And then Watertown kind of reminds me of Gonzaga.
Okay.
Gonzaga, a team that, up and coming a few years ago. They've been consistently really good, but haven't been able to get that championship opportunity. But now here they are taking center stage and a chance to try and take down one of the juggernauts in the state and win a state title. Watertown and Oak Creek. The Goslings of Watertown. You see them on the forefront of your screen right now. Both teams wearing very similar blue, black, and white jerseys.
This could be difficult if this was basketball.
Someone left the road shirts at home, I guess. So. Watertown wearing the slightly darker blue on the right-hand side. Oak Creek on the left-hand side. You'll be able to see it says Oak Creek very clearly on the back side of those shirts.
1, 2, 3,
The Knights with their cheer pumping up the crowd. Good section cheering them on here at Dale's Weston Lanes. Oak Creek seeking its first state title since 2017. And the Watertown Goslings trying to get in the way of those plans. Final championship of the day on BowlStreamTV starts with Oak Creek firing first and an 8 count on lane 6. Oak Creek ending the season with a 10-2 regular season record, tied with Greenfield for the best regular season record in the District 1 East Division. District 1 taking up the greater Milwaukee area. Watertown, first shot. Comes up high on the head pin. Baby split on the right-hand side. Makeable for the Goslings. Difficult 8 count pickups for both teams in frame 1.
Yeah, not what you want to be shooting. 2 8s, a 2-8 and a 3-10 on a difficult lane condition, but the first one is made. It was a little right, but you saw it start to read and start to grind to get to the 2-8. And now the 3-10 opportunity has got a hook.
And it's an open frame to lead things off for Watertown. Second frame shot, Oak Creek. That'll knock all 10 down. Knights came to play. I believe if I saw correctly, that was Dominic Maszewski in the second position, delivering the big throw for Oak Creek for the first strike of the championship match. Watertown trying to respond. 9 count. Single pin, the 7 pin left on the left-hand side.
The first 5 frames of all of our team-specific matches, to me, have been really the key. Because, and even with the lane switch, because you just want to be able to get off to a good start. Now, we've seen teams come back. We saw that earlier in our first match this morning. But I think it's just so pivotal to feel good about where you are in the first couple. Now, at the same time, if you don't feel good, you got 5 more frames to figure it out. But individually, each player only has 2 frames to figure it out.
Good spare pickup for the left-handed Travis Prochaska, the Watertown Goslings. First mark of the game for Watertown. Dane Pintar. Big strike for the Oak Creek Knights.
Big strike indeed. Got a little pin action. We're just trying to be around the 1-3. And we've seen teams be able to do that successfully. And when they haven't, we've seen the 2 pin combinations. Another great shot.
Couple of lefties on the Watertown squad, including a strike in the 3rd frame.
Could be interesting there, Jesse. Each team we've seen with a lefty has only had 1. And the lefties have looked pretty good today.
Caleb Parent knocks that one home for Watertown, senior. 49% striker on the year, comes up with a big one in the 3rd frame. First strike of the championship match for Watertown. And a 9 count with a 5 pin remaining on lane 6. Or is that the head pin?
That is the head pin.
Oh, wow.
Whoa. Are you talking about hooking early?
A little out of control for Ralph Holmeschild.
He got around that one very early. You know, again, nerves, get the early jitters out.
Spare made for Oak Creek in the 4th. They're clean through 4. We'll talk about the importance of those spares. It was Connor Gabrielson in the 4th frame, picking it up for Oak Creek.
That was going to be a tough spare no matter what.
And now here's the best bowler on the team, Caden Plate. Senior, 65% striker on the year. He leaves 3 on the right-hand side. 93% fill percentage on the year for Caden Plate, one of the best fill percentages in the state. Watertown needs a bounce back, and they're going to hope for it from senior Carson Foltz on lane 7. Calling it in. A lot of pin movement, but the 2 remains. Plate. Spare.
And despite Oak Creek, you know, throwing a couple out the window, they're clean through 5.
Right where you want to be.
It's perfect. Like that again, those first 5 frames can tell you a lot, but you know there's going to be some jitters. You just hope to exit the first 5 frames without any blemishes. Oak Creek has done that, and now I feel like with each player having a couple shots under their belt, can get into the game, into the flow, and get a little bit more rhythm.
Coming across the lane, that has not been an easy spare pickup through these team competitions, but Watertown is able to get it. Carson Foltz, he was the one who struck 3 times in the 10th frame last night in the roll-off to propel Watertown to the victory over DC Everest. And they did have to win another semifinal in the stepladder last night after that as well. Talk about bouncing back. Not only do they have the emotion of beating DC Everest, but then they had to beat the Sheboygan South, who was no cupcake by any means.
Yeah, they had to immediately remove all of the emotion, as you just said, from the roll-off part, and then still bowl the match essentially to get them to this point.
And they won at 342-317 over Sheboygan South in the stepladder to get to Championship Sunday, where the Goslings hope to upset Oak Creek. 6 count for Watertown over on lane 7, pushed it right. But another chance for Remington Kilps.
Oh, huge
who
spare.
Gets all 4 for the spare.
That was big.
Goslings just need to limit the damage here. They're probably not going to win this first game, but if you can fight your way back, get it to 30-ish pins, being the difference, set yourself up for success at the turn. Oak Creek's turn. Dominic Mashesky. Split. And that's why Watertown needs those spares. That's a break for the Goslings if they can take advantage.
Didn't look like a bad shot either. Looks to be playing him a little bit more direct.
Lefty Travis Prochaska feeds it in, gets all 10. Here comes Watertown.
Yeah, again, they may have a small advantage. Again, with multiple lefties. Again, I talked about that. Each lefty that we have seen today has looked very good, no matter the pattern. And so, to me, you got 2 lefties in the lineup. If you can get them going, they already seem to be going well. And if you can rally everyone else around it, those 2 individuals, Watertown could easily make this a match, certainly.
Mashesky went for the spare instead of taking the easy 2. He got 1 pin. He was really close. Eighth frame. Oak Creek. Big one. It's the way to overcome the open frame. Just hammer them all down.
Max score 222 for Oak Creek. 213 max for Watertown.
Dane Pintar, the junior, with the big strike. The Oak Creek Knights, but Watertown has now strung 2 together. 7th and 8th frame strike, setting up the 9th and 10th for a potentially big run to close the game.
Again, that's a great combo that Watertown has right now. But this 4-5 duo, you can clearly note for Oak Creek, Gabrielson, Plate, they're there for a reason at the bottom of the lineup.
Gabrielson, big hitter.
Wow. Pretty impressive. That would have been a washout for a lot of other players.
Ralph Holmschild feeds it in. 3 straight strikes for Watertown. We've got ourselves a fun little Division I championship match here. Teams have figured out these lanes.
And look where we're seeing the strikes, right? Back half of the game. First 5 frames, you're not really sure what's going to happen. You just aren't. You're just hoping to throw the best shots you can and then adjust based on what happens.
Caden Plate, anchor bowler for Oak Creek, comes up high on the head pin, leaves 2 on the right-hand side. 6-10 spare opportunity.
This is how bowling is so cool because, you know, Watertown, when we started this match, it was like, okay, maybe they're going to struggle the entire game. Well, they could end up having the lead after game 1 after it's all said and done.
Let's see if Mr. Clutch, Carson Foltz, can deliver. Can't question him after last night's performance. 4 in a row for the Goslings. Spare is good for Plate, so he'll get 1 more throw. could strike for 200 for Oak Creek. I always thought 200 is a good benchmark number. If you're hitting 200,
100%.
You feel pretty good with these conditions, everything that's going on.
Yeah, 200 is still par no matter the I shouldn't say no matter the condition. Like if we're talking about U.S. Open, 185 would be a good par, essentially. Bolt's the only player I think throwing, or at least that I could have recognized today with some urethane in his hand.
62% striker.
Wow. Dang. 62% is phenomenal, to say the least. Good
He's
Lord.
thrown 66%
I can see why now,
strikes
too.
so far in this match. He's thrown 3 shots, 2 strikes here in the 10th, trying to finish with 6 in a row. Watertown. 7 count for Oak Creek is a 197.
Again, appreciate everybody tuning in on BowlStreamTV. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. Hit the thumbs up. Please support BCAW and Wisconsin High School Bowling by hitting the thumbs up and making our streams here this weekend some of the best out there.
Holtz missed his mark a little bit right. But how about that ending for Watertown? We said it would just be great if they could get within 30. They have the lead at the turn. 209, 197.
Plus 12 never hurt nobody.
12-pin lead for Watertown. Ironically, Antigo led by 12 at the turn in the Division II championship match. Marinette came back with a 197-158 victory in Game 2 to seal the state championship. So we'll see if Oak Creek can follow a similar blueprint or if Watertown can fend them off and win a state title.
The first 5 frames I was talking about still the same, but it's so different now when you make the switch in a 2-game situation because, A, now you're trying to deal with or make sure you pay attention to what's happening on the new lane, right? You just kind of got lined up on the original lane, and then you make a move, especially for Watertown, right? Because they just got lined up late, and now they got to go to a different pair. So I think the situation for both teams, right? You throw the same shot or target, have the same target of where you left off on the opposite lane, and then base your decision-making off of those moves.
You also wonder, Watertown is a very senior-led team, but Oak Creek with a bunch of seniors and juniors who have been around, if they weren't part of the teams that had teams at the state tournament, they were definitely around those bowlers and can play to that experience here. Remington Kilps, shot number 1 of game number 2. Watertown picks up right where they left off. A strike in the first.
That's huge to get off to such a good start like that. The leadoff player has such an important job. You want to provide energy. Communication is key as well. Nice.
First shot of game 2 for Oak Creek is a strike.
Even better shot.
Travis Prochaska, the lefty, feeds it in, and a big strike for Watertown. They are all over this oil pattern right now.
And my memory's leaving me real quick, but I think the lefties are perfect, or maybe 3 out of 4 at this point.
They've been really solid. Can Oak Creek keep pace?
That's a good shot. That one started to hook.
A little bit inside with some action. 7 fall down. 3 remain on the right-hand side.
Well, if you're Watertown, you don't waste any time. You try to just go up there. Next shot, go through the process. And can potentially put up 3 in a row to start the pivotal in a championship deciding game. You watch your opponent now open in the second frame. We had Norm Duke in our singles competition. Again, shout out to Norm Duke, the Hall of Famer, the GOAT, one of the GOATs of the sport. But if he was here right now, many times, we talk about opponents giving you opens, you got to take advantage of it.
Can Parent do so? Yes, he can. Starting to feel special for Watertown.
The lefty duo.
Up by 12 pins after game 1, and they have opened with 3 straight strikes in game 2. Junior Dane Pintar trying to help carry Oak Creek back, and he avoids disaster.
Good break.
It was a good ball, I thought.
No, it was a really good shot. Interesting enough, it would have been like a flat 7-10, which is what you don't want to see, but good break, obviously, with the 10 falling.
So Pintar's got to come across the oil to pick up this spare. Not an easy thing to do on this pattern. Can you get it to come back? Yes, he can. A must-need mark for Oak Creek.
I'm going to be honest with you, Jesse. That's pretty impressive to be able to hook at a 7-pin like that on this and make it. I would have, my ball probably would have hit the 2-pin trying to hook at that.
4th frame, Ralph Holmeschild. Can he keep it going? Went too far left. And he leaves 3 pins, so that ends the strike streak for the Goslings. Makeable spare if you can put it in the pocket. But now Oak Creek with an opening. The senior Connor Gabrielson. Light. And an 8 count. There is another pin behind that one that you can see.
Yeah, 2 8s, never fun. We've seen them made though a lot today. Again, shout out to the athletes.
Holmeschild on the spare. Gosling's 4 for 4 with marks here in game 2 of the championship match.
And he's been trying to do that, Holmeschild. Just maybe a little bit still over amped, but he's just churning it early, and that's why you've seen the ball read immediately and go left. That time he allowed his wrist and his movements to stay behind the ball a little bit longer, and he was able to project it right the way he's looking to do it.
That's an open frame for Oak Creek, as Gabrielson could not knock down both pins on the 2-8 conversion. Carson Foltz takes it back. Didn't like it. Wow. That was interesting, Emil. So, first time we've seen that today where a bowler has began the approach and then stepped back.
Yeah, we call it the balk in the sport. But we were talking about earlier, some people are very good at stopping, some aren't.
Foltz comes up high on the head pin.
I just realized he kind of did like a 180 or 360 kind of spin, didn't he?
Yeah, he really brought it back with him. Oak Creek could start to string some strikes together if they want to fight their way to overcome the deficit, and that's a great start to do it. Caden Plate, the senior, 65% strike percentage on the season.
Man.
So between...
It's unbelievable.
Foltz is at 62, Plate is at 65. A lot of big strikes from the anchor bowlers in this match. Foltz picks up the spare. Watertown clean through 5.
Quick wide look at what's happening here at Dale's Weston Lanes as we get down to the back half. Division I boys co-ed state championship.
I believe we have a substitution over here for Oak Creek right now. Liam Belmas is going to step in and take the next shot. So, meanwhile, Remington Kilps.
Well, it may not matter.
Strikes in the first and sixth frame for Kilps.
And I tell you, there's no gratifying feeling, right? No more than throwing your 2 shots and knowing you put up 2 strikes to help your team get closer to a championship.
That was such a big shot for Kilps. That #1 position, so critical if you can try and convert out of what you assume is going to be a mark for the anchor bowler. Kilps set the tone and then is able to keep it going with the first and sixth respectively. Meanwhile, Oak Creek doubling up, 5-6 strikes in each. They're a team that can get hot and throw a bunch of strikes all in a row anytime, but Travis Prochaska doesn't want to give him the opportunity to mount the comeback. Kilps and Prochaska, perfect in game 2.
Right now, Oak Creek has to strike out the way this is looking to have any chance.
7th frame, Brooklyn, 9 count for Dominic Mashesky.
Watertown max score right now is 265. That's max. They came in with a 12-pin advantage. They lead right now by 29.
And you know if you're Watertown,
Oh, excuse me, 31, I beg your pardon.
You don't even want to think about what Oak Creek is doing. Like, you're bowling so well
Oh,
right now if you're the Goslings. Just get 2 more strikes and call it a day.
And this is why I was asking about pace earlier, right? I was talking about that because, and I do think it is kind of frame per frame. Team completes their frame before the next team bowls, but you just kind of keep your rhythm.
Caleb Parent to the pocket. Down they go.
Jesse, I don't think their lefties have missed.
The first, second, and third bowlers with strikes in every frame in game 2 for Watertown.
And I think the lefties have been perfect through 2 games.
That is outstanding bowling by the Watertown Goslings. Desperation time for the Oak Creek Knights.
Good shot.
There's a strike. Not out of it just yet, but they're going to need some help.
Strike here, and that's it.
Ralph Homschild for the championship. 8 count. Still good.
Oh, yeah.
Still sitting in a good position, Watertown.
Let's see. All right, let's give him 1 here. That would be 9 if he misses. That's 201. They would need 202 or really 203 to win, and that's giving Oak Creek strikes in the 9th and the 10th frame.
Well, yeah, they get the 9. Good bounce back from Gabrielson, who opened in the 4th. That's a big-time strike.
If he makes the spare, though, Watertown is all good.
Is he going to get it? Ralph Homschild delivers the spare in the 9th frame for the Watertown Goslings. And now for Oak Creek, Caden Plate.
This one is mathematically over. Oak Creek. Again, if you gave them all the strikes in the 10th, that 9th frame was the most important shot for Watertown. If a split had occurred, we could have been looking at a 10th frame scenario where a roll-off could have potentially taken place.
Carson Fultz. The celebration is on for the Watertown Goslings. Division I boys co-ed team state champions. They've done it. A team that had to win a roll-off in the semifinals last night against DC Everest. 50-49. Advances, wins another semifinal against Sheboygan South Random Lake, and then advances and takes down Oak Creek to win the state title.
Substitutions now, certainly for Oak Creek, giving their rest of their roster some opportunities. Same thing with Watertown. This is what, at its purest form, what the sport is all about, what sports in general are all about, and certainly youth sports are all about, in my opinion. Someone has to win. We know someone has to lose. The way to get there simply, and most of the time, is always filled with treacherous roads, challenges, adversity. But when you get it done, boy, how sweet is it?
Only one of the number 1 seeds, boys or girls, either division, won the state title today.
It's hard to win from that seat.
That was the Sun Prairie East-West Marshall-Cambridge co-op team for the girls in Division 1. They were the number 1 seed and won the Division 1 girls team state championship. But other than that, Campbellsport is a 3 seed, won the girls Division 2 title. Watertown is a 3 seed, wins the Division 1 boys title. Marinette is a 2 seed, wins the Division 2 boys title. It's over. Watertown has won the state championship. .440 to .389 ends up being the final. And a trophy presentation will come momentarily for all of the state champions here at Dale's Weston Lanes. Keep it right here on BowlStreamTV.
All right, the awards presentation will be next. Jesse taking one moment, getting himself prepared. He will handle, of course, the public address responsibilities for our awards presentation as well. Congrats again to Watertown. Getting it done in a roll-off yesterday, then on to the semifinals, and now completing the job, the mission. A state championship in Division 1. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Again, hang out if you'd like to certainly watch the awards presentation. If you missed any of the singles competition, that is already archived in the BowlStreamTV YouTube channel. And of course, the team competition being archived as we speak. course, this will be the awards presentation for both girls and boys.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, time now to commence with our awards presentation for our team finals here on Championship Sunday at Dale's Weston Lanes. Let's get a round of applause for all of our finalists competing this afternoon. Some outstanding bowling all weekend, particularly today. We'll actually go in the order in which the championships occurred. So we will begin with the Girls Division II Team Awards. Finishing as the runners-up, Elkhart Lake Glenbeulah. Once more, let's hear it for Elkhart Lake Glenbeulah. And the 2023 Division II Girls Team State Champions, Campbellsport. Once again, let's hear it for Campbellsport. Next in Division I, the 2023 state runners-up, Sheboygan. Again, let's hear it for Sheboygan. And the 2023 Division I Girls Team State Champions, SPMC, Sun Prairie East, Sun Prairie West, Marshall, Cambridge. Once again, let's give it up for SPMC. And now for the boys co-ed team tournament awards. Finishing as the 2023 state runners-up in Division II, Antigo. Once again, let's hear it for Antigo. And the 2023 Division II Boys Co-ed Team State Champions, Marinette. Let's hear it again for the champions from Marinette. And in Division I, your 2023 Boys Co-ed Team State runners-up, Oak Creek. Let's hear it for the Oak Creek Knights. And the 2023 Division I Boys Co-ed Team State Champions, Watertown. gentlemen, that does conclude the 2023 Wisconsin High School Bowling Club State Championships. Thanks to the Bowling Centers Association of Wisconsin, Dale's Weston Lanes for hosting this year's event, and all of our participating sponsors. We will see you next year at the Ashwaubenon Bowling Alley for the 2024 Wisconsin High School Bowling Club State Championships.
Thank you. Well, you're the first person that's ever said that, so thank you. I'm kidding. Thank you.
Because you did. It is.
Thank you. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you. Thank you. You guys do too. This is probably the smoothest ever, from my opinion. So this is amazing. So hopefully you think the same. It's one afternoon. You tuck yourself in the studio and you go and you see what you can do. And yep, absolutely. Thank you.
Great work.
Well, Emil Williams, this is the conclusion of the Wisconsin High School Bowling State Championships on BowlStreamTV. What a thrilling day. So much fun.
It was fun. It was exciting from the start this morning, from the very start. And the precursor was last night with Watertown and their roll-off to the excitement that we would get today during the finals. Spectacular matches, great young athletes here in the state of Wisconsin. What a privilege it is for me and BowlStreamTV to be here to help provide this coverage of this great event. And certainly to be able to work with someone like Jesse, who is extraordinary in what he does. And, of course, we got a treat, and that was to hang out with one of the GOATs, Norm Duke, today. What a phenomenal day. Just congrats to all of our state champions.
Yeah, this was an incredible day. Once again, so many different storylines. Personally, Watertown getting over the hump and winning the Division I Boys Team State Championship.
You did a great job of building that story. And, you know, but we've all been there, right? And sometimes you just never get there. You watch that team attack it, and it just never quite gets there. And but you could just see it early. They had a great game plan, and it was more than enough. Yep.
They figured it out, no doubt. It was an awesome day. Congratulations to all the champions, the individual champions. Dale's Weston Lanes, tremendous job hosting the event once again. The Bowling Centers the Bowling Centers Association of Wisconsin, tremendous job hosting this event for us each and every year. Emil, you do a fantastic job helping everybody be able to have access to watch this live, and such a high quality product that we are able to experience because of what you've invested here with BowlStreamTV. So thank you for everything that you do and continue to do with BowlStreamTV, and I hope to see you in Ashwaubenon next year.
I hope so too, and thank you for having such a vast knowledge of Wisconsin high school bowling. We've obviously talked in the past and off camera about what we both do, and I love what you do. The respect is there as well. I love working with you, man, and hopefully we'll just get a chance to do it for the longest of times.
A lot of fun, and you're the first person who said I've ever had a vast knowledge in anything, so I appreciate that, Emil. Thank you very much. No better way for me to end today than with that.
Take us home, man.
This has been the 2023 Wisconsin High School Bowling Club State Championships on BowlStreamTV. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next year in Ashwaubenon.